Did Oklahoma State wait too long to fire Mike Gundy? 69-3 last week against Oregon State says maybe so. We're going to talk to Cody Stovall about it right now on Rise and Shine College Football. Good morning, and welcome back to Rise and Shine College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame college football. Welcome into the show, everybody. KJ Goated, Brandon Snake. Who else we got? Zofix. True Okie, Crucifix Autumn, Brian Sandlin, Bishop Frank, James Space, Derek Hamilton. What's up, my guy? And who else? Donald Poolaw, Daniel Tulsa, Scott Walker, Jake S. Welcome, everybody, into the show. Appreciate you all joining me this morning. We'll have Cody along here shortly to talk about the fate of Mike Gundy, who after 69-3 loss to the Oregon Ducks on the road this weekend, looks to be on his way out, finally. Whether it's going to happen during the season or after, we'll kind of have to wait and see. But my guess is if they get, bye week notwithstanding, I think he gets through the bye week. But if they lose to Tulsa next week, things could get pretty sketchy for old Mike. And probably should have been before. If you read my column that I've dropped the link to there, it's pinned in the chat. You know that I think that they waited too long anyway. I feel like they should have done it a while back. But you just have to see. I think that they waited definitely too long because of the fact that, look, you had an opportunity to go get some guys that would have, infused some donors' money maybe into the program. If you don't believe in what's going on after an 0-9 season, and then he's kind of forced to fire his guys and bring in really bad ones to replace them, I find it kind of weird. Now, do I expect that they're going to fire him during the season? Probably not. I think they'd probably beat Tulsa, right? And I think more than likely you let him go out on his own terms, which is retirement, maybe. We'll get into that with Cody when he gets in here and kind of see what he thinks. But I don't know, man. They'll let him resign after the season, Fisherman says. Welcome to the show, Fisherman. Hankster, what up, my guy? They need to keep him around. Why do you enjoy watching them get their ass kicked? Yeah, but that starting quarterback, look, man, let's just be real. He played plenty of that game for them to blow out Middle Tennessee, and they didn't do it. It's funny to me that for all the talk that he was going back and forth with Dan Lanning about the difference in NIL funding that they had, I thought that that's a bad look either way, because you're basically telling your players that you're not good enough to compete with these guys, then expecting them to go in and compete. Come on. I just feel like he's definitely been mailing it in for a long time, folks. They should force him to retire. But here's the question that I have, and this is one of the questions I'm going to ask Cody here in a few minutes. Why would you, if you're Mike Gundy, for your legacy's sake, should you retire? Probably. Will he, though? Man, we know how messy he is. And I think that, he's been talking shit forever. And he thinks an awful lot of his own legacy as it is, and I don't think he's just gonna walk away. I just don't. You know what I mean? I just don't. But yeah. Look, I mean, if you look at the end of 2021, I mean, they definitely should have won the conference championship when, you know, Lincoln handed them the damn Bedlam game on a silver platter. That's neither here nor there. They had the defense to go do it, and they went and, throughout a 6 turnover game or whatever it was. I think wasn't it like that? 6 turnovers or maybe 3 turnovers, but whatever. They said they lost by 6 inches. It was like, okay, dude, come on. So it's gonna be wild. Gundy ain't gonna fire OSU. I'm telling you, Jason. Yeah. Hey, listen, man, he's getting paid, but I think he's gonna make them pay his $15 million buyout. He may retire, but I think he's gonna make sure that he gets as much of that $15 million buyout as he can before he does it. It's gonna get messy, I think. If he leaves, who wants the job? Listen, this is a good question. And I think that by not firing him at the end of last year, they made the job less attractive for sure. You know, the thing is that Oklahoma State has great facilities. In fact, its facilities rival the best in the country, no matter where they are. In fact, they're better than Oklahoma's at the moment overall. But to sit here and act like they don't have the money at all, whatever NIL money you don't have this year is a result of what you haven't done and what you didn't do last year. And the fact that you drug your feet as long as you did, as far as using it and using the portal, right? Napier to Stillwater. Listen, it might be a better deal. I saw there was one website out there that was saying that Kalen DeBoer might take that job over the Alabama gig that he's got right now, which I thought was hilarious. I tend to doubt that. I don't see Kalen DeBoer going anywhere where they owe him $70 million. He's not just going to walk. So, yeah, anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. But that is funny too. Napier to Stillwater. Yep. What did his son do on X? Basically, he was pleading for the job, I think, more than anything else, and basically saying that they have a plan for NIL if they'll cough up the cash, is what I basically was reading. Again, that's something that you should definitely ask that again when Cody's in here, and we'll talk about it. He should be here in about 10 minutes, I think. He's headed back from taking his wife to work. So, does this OSU bring in the go-go after Gundy? You know what? I have not seen his name on that list, on any lists, but I think Brennan Marion would be pretty smart job. We'll see. I think he's the head coach at Sacramento State this year. What are they going to do? We'll see. I think that offense might help them in the Big 12. You know what I mean? But I think in the end, you can't sit here and tell me and shout out to Barry Trammell, but as he said, you can't sit here and talk about how you can't get it going in NIL when Arizona State hadn't done shit in 20 years plus, and they're able to piece together enough NIL to make the playoff and win the conference in their first year. TCU's figuring it out. Iowa State's figuring it out. Iowa State was a doormat for freaking 100 years. 100 years. And Campbell and them were able to figure it out. K-State they're finding a way to do it. CU is a little different than the rest of them in the Big 12, but it seems like everybody but Utah and Oklahoma State are navigating this fine as far as it goes with the Big 12 and with their limited amount of resources. I mean, they're not going to be able to spend what you can spend if you've got, Cody, what's his name down in Texas Tech, or the BYU money that they've got plenty of. And they're certainly not going to keep up with the Texases and A&Ms of the world either. But they can, I mean, look, I know that they got a check from Boone Pickens Estate for $250 million a year ago. You know, they were talking about it a year ago. So there is some money there. I don't know how much of it is pegged for what and what the plans are for that money. I couldn't tell you. But you could understand why the donors are not interested in forking out cash for a coach that seems to be mailing it in, you know, when it comes to coaching that team and developing your program, because he's not going to be able to just keep his guys for 4 years. And that's what he was better at, was getting underrated guys, because he hates recruiting, but they were able to go and get guys that they felt like fit Oklahoma State, and they could develop them over 4 years or whatever, sometimes even 5 and 6 years, but they would get them going, and that worked for him. You know, once NIL came around, he wasn't interested. I remember when they were talking about the collective a couple of years ago. Pokes with a Purpose is their NIL collective, or it was, at least at that point. They had some ideas on how to raise that money and get more guys, you know, get better talent and stay competitive. And he was like, no, we don't want to do that. We'd rather take that money and put it into facilities. Well, facilities doesn't matter as much anymore. You know, they don't. They matter to an extent, and you need to have good facilities in terms of medical and everything else like that. But they have all that already. What you really have to do is pour some money into the players. That's the only way you're really going to get them. Now, he's out there, you know, signaling what was going to happen all last week. Of course, Cody was there, you know, saying that they were going to be better than the 28.5-point underdogs that they were. Whatever. In any event, they got beat by 66. 66. It was over in the first, what? Well, they gave up 2 touchdowns in the first 3 plays, and it didn't get worse. And then, of course, Dan Lanning, when you start talking shit to him, he makes an example of you, like he did CU a couple of years ago. He did the same, if not, and much worse, to Gundy for talking shit. I just saw on Twitter, and I don't know how many of you guys saw that, Gundy was taking pictures. It was either before or after the game. My guess is it was before, but people were yelling and hollering at him saying, I'm 40, I'm a man and stuff. And he's over there going and taking pictures with them, Oregon fans. Whether it's before or after, you know, when you look at it and then say, oh yeah, they got beat 69-3, not a great look. Not a great look, you know, to be grab-assing around with a bunch of fucking Oregon fans and then getting throttled by them. And if it was after the throttling, you got to be kidding me. A Power 4 JUCO. Yeah. The farm team, is that what you said a minute ago? Yeah. Hit the like button and don't be a freeloader. I'd appreciate it. He's a decent coach. He lost motivation. He was a decent coach, but mediocre. Look, don't make me go back through all that stuff of what the wins that he actually was getting outside of the Big 12. We're not over good teams. When they played non-cons, they were always generally against bad Group of 5 teams. And when they did play Power 5 teams or Power 4 teams now and won, they were generally, if they were a winning program, it was 8-5, 7-6. They've actually got 4 or 5 of those wins in his entire career over a Power 5, Power 4 team with a winning record. They were all 8-5, 7-6, one of the two, or 8-5, 7-6, 7-5, 8-4 or whatever. But you know what I'm saying. Anyway, that happened a few times. I think it was 3. I think it's 4 now, 4 total that he's got outside of conference. So to act like all these wins that he's racked up are so special, and he's got 170 of them, which, you know, it is what it is. You got to look at it through the lenses of what does it really mean? I think the more important stats are, yes, okay, you got a lot of wins in the Big 10 or in the Big 12. Sorry, not the Big 10. You got a lot of wins in the Big 12. But you're 4-15 against Oklahoma. At least he did. I'll give him this. He's over the last decade plus, I think he won 12 out of 15 against Texas, though, or something like that. I read that somewhere. It may not be quite that much. I'd love to. We should probably take a look. But they certainly owned them over the last decade. They won more than they lost for sure. I know that to be true. So you can give him that. But that being said, Texas was trash. They were shitty. You know? It is what it is. I think Daniels is happy with the move. What? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes, I think he is. I think he has upped his draft stock tremendously just in the first two games, particularly that one last week. Wow. Reluctantly, kind of. I don't know. He was on with that Reagan Harris guy from the Ref yesterday talking about it and talking about who's in line. Harris seems to think that they're just going to promote one of these coordinators that they just hired and let him hire. That's the other part that makes no sense to me. If you knew you'd probably got to fire this dude, why did you bother with making him hire a new staff that you're going to have to fucking pay to get rid of too? And you're going to have to pay $15 million to get rid of him. GJ Kinney to me is probably out because he has some $10 million buyout at Texas State, which is wild to me. But it is what it is. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. But the thing is Kendall Daniels didn't get a bad reputation until last year when they went tits up. You know, and that's one of the guys that I know that Cody still loves that dude. Now, was he loafing on a couple of plays? Maybe. You know what I mean? I mean, you can say what you want. I would say that the coaching staff had melded in and were loafing their way to that fucking 0-9 record long before you caught him doing that shit. And the other part was that he had moved positions, and maybe it was more that had something to do with he didn't really know what he was doing. There was some lack of effort looks out on the field, though. What's up there, Mr. Satterfield? Mars Jams, what's up? What's up? Let me see who else is in here that just popped in. Derek, what up, my guy? Tyler Reynolds. Yeah, they said he's going to be lazy. Look, I mean, it's like I said, I think that they melded in then. You know, Daniel Tulsa, what's up, guy? You better go young for this coach since their expectations are low. Anyway, he should get time to build. Look, I think there's certain guys that I wouldn't touch if I'm them. Although, here's the thing. I've got mixed feelings about that. I understand that they're worried about being a stepping stone school. But if you're a stepping stone school, that means you're winning because coaches don't get jobs if they don't win, right? So if you can continue to get coaches that are going to do a good job, then your chances are that means that you're winning games and having a chance to win the Big 12, which means you have a chance to go to the playoff. To me, I think that I don't really have a problem with that way of doing things, you know? Now, here's the deal though. You're being a Power 4 school. It's not the exact same as it was in the past. I think before Oklahoma State wasn't as attractive because Oklahoma and Texas were in the league and they were just second-class citizens in the league. You know what I mean? And normally they didn't beat Oklahoma or Texas. They didn't I don't buy this didn't have the resources part. But I mean, nobody has the resources that Texas has necessarily, but they had the resources that OU had. They just didn't seem to do it the right way. And it is what it is. The fact that Texas and OU are no longer there, I'd say that they're easily on par with Iowa State and K-State and those kind of schools. I mean, why not? You know, there's no reason why you can't get a coach that will stick around. Now, GJ Kinney, I don't know. He's had opportunities to leave already and hasn't left Texas State. He'd be like one of my first choices. The other one would be Jeff Traylor at UTSA. those guys are, they have a pretty good deal going with where they are because of the being able to recruit Texas. That's a big deal. Would Alex Golish leave USF for them? No, I think he's assured himself of an SEC job next year. Hell, it may be Florida, who he just beat. I don't see that really happening. Do you think a guy like Will Stein takes the job? Maybe. But he would probably be one that might move on or whatever. And I think anytime any of these coaches in the Big 12 have an opportunity to go coach in the SEC, most of them are going to take it. I saw whenever they were talking about firing Kalen DeBoer a couple of weeks ago, I saw them talking about Kalani Sitake. He's one I don't see that. The dude went to BYU. He's about what BYU is about. I think he's perfect for BYU, and I don't see him going anywhere. Now, would you have to take a look at Alabama? Sure. But again, I don't think that who he is and what he does fits any more than what Kalen DeBoer does. I just don't see it. So I don't think that that's a good move for them. But I think aside from that, who else in the Big 12 wouldn't take a job in the SEC if they got an offer? I mean, to me, I think Matt Campbell probably would. And he's one of those guys that's hung around a lot longer than I expected him to at Iowa State. If you could get Matt Campbell to stay at Iowa State, what's to say that you can't get a guy like Traylor or maybe Kenny or whoever to go and coach there for at least a good little while, 5-10 years? Why not? Isn't Jake Spavital from Oklahoma? If not, he recruits Texas and Oklahoma, and that's good enough for the Big 12. Listen, I agree. I would make Traylor have to tell me no also. And there ain't no way Traylor's telling you no. There's no way. None. No way. Because for whatever reason, he hasn't gotten the big offers yet. But I think the more every time that he goes out there and puts up 9 and 10 wins, and the last couple of years, he's been really close to being that, best FBS team, on the G5 or whatever. He's been really good. Shit. And he's definitely got as many ties as you need to Texas he's a former Texas OC. He's been connected to the program. The same as Will Stein. I mean, I think Will Stein would fit in really well there. Now, he's got a great deal at Oregon, right? And if you expect, like I kind of do, Dan Lanning to leave Oregon soon, if he wins, I think he does. If he continues winning, I think, if Alabama opens up again and maybe they go after him this time, I think he takes it. I don't think that he was really offered the job this last time around. I don't. But I think if he was, just like everybody else leaves Oregon, I think he would too. Right? So we'll see. But Barry Looney Jr., OC at Illinois. It looks like they want the OC from Atlanta, who's a former quarterback there. Now, from what I saw, I couldn't believe this reading all this, but apparently they had him locked up. They had him locked up to either become head coach. If they fired Gundy, he'd already be head coach. Or he was willing to come be the coordinator and be head coach in waiting, and Gundy shut it down, which is wild to me. But apparently that's the truth. I don't know, man. It just seems weird. But let's see. It was Zac Robinson. He was willing to return as a coordinator and coach in waiting last year before Gundy nixed it. If OSU had done it, he's already there. Alex Golish, I don't believe it. John Summerall, no fucking way. Colin Klein feels like I don't know that Chris Kleiman isn't in enough trouble that Colin Klein says, fuck that. I'll wait and get the K-State job. And I think that's immediately where they go, right? I mean, Neilio, hey, good to see you, Neilio. Wouldn't you agree that or let me ask you, Is Chris Kleiman's seat warming up here? And are they looking to, if they were to fire him, is it not immediately Colin Klein? I agree. I told you that. I said that I've been saying that to Cody. I said it was going to hurt them as a program, and immediately it did. Yes, they did. They did. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yeah. Well, we can always do it here.
People that are negative and voicing their opinion are the same ones that can't pay their own bills.
I love that Mike Gundy. But he is. I know of a guy in Manhattan, Kansas that might work out for the Pokes. Who might that be? Who might that be? Would it be Chris Kleiman? I think he would do a great job building the program. I'm not positive that I think Colin Klein would. I don't know. I mean, maybe he would, but I think he's better off going back to K-State. Yeah, I don't know. With current AD Gene Taylor still the guy, Kleiman is in no trouble. But I do think we kind of got the best out of his tenure already. Definitely hope I'm dead wrong too. Yeah. Oh, Lord. Well, I mean, maybe. Oh, man. I'll tell you what. Just extend the shit show, man. I don't see it. It's a struggle. No. BV was I've heard a little different than that. And I don't know how true it is. But apparently Joe C wanted to hire Dan Lanning and Stoops talked him into BV. That's what I've heard. Maybe they can get Luke Fickell on the cheap. Now, this would be an absolute coup because he fucked up going to Wisconsin. He could probably help himself out if he beats Alabama this weekend. I think pigs might fly if he does, but, hey, if he beats Alabama this weekend, maybe they can get Kalen DeBoer. I don't know. Golish is a no. That's a no-go, dude. No way. I think playing as tight to Alabama the last 2 years as he did, and then going into the swamp and beating Billy, I think he might have gotten his job right there. I mean, he may be the guy that replaces Billy. Who the hell talked them into Latrell? That would be Joe C. From everything I've heard. But OU chose BV over Lanning, correct, for sure. I just don't know who. Like I said, I think that Lanning was definitely in the cards. He would have taken the job over Oregon. But it sounds to me like they talked BV or Joe C into it. Stoops was apparently pushing Venables. So I don't know. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think that Dan Lanning is the best thing since sliced bread. He hasn't won a bunch of games that are big games. He couldn't beat Washington, and which is their biggest rival. He didn't beat them not as long as DeBoer was there. I guess his best win really, honestly, was Ohio State last year at home, but then he got boat raced by them in the Rose Bowl. So I don't know, man. I heard Joe C on Latrell also. Yeah. I would agree with you about the donor class really wanting Klein to come home. It's very obvious he wants to at some point. I would think, right? I mean, and he's one of the hottest young coordinators out there. I don't know. He's done really well with Marcel, I think. But, man, I don't know, man. It's short of them making a playoff. I don't know how well does this job do for you. I mean, you know what I mean? Maybe he does enough to get another job. And I think K-State would certainly be smart to get him. I think he's good. I just don't know that you can win there. That Luke Fickell sounded pretty right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that's correct or not. What about Bobby Petrino? I actually saw something about that, and I think Bobby would jump all over it. And probably on the cheap. You know what I mean? Just to get that job. Now, would you keep him around? I don't know. Because you possibly would. But if he goes and gets it and he does that job for, let's say, 5 years, no trouble, none of that kind of stuff, you don't have any issues. Now, do people feel like he's not untouchable? Here's the thing. Knowing Okie Light fans, the way we know Okie Light fans, would they turn their nose up at it because of his past? It's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. I would tell you this is the best option you could, out of everybody we've talked about, Bobby P would probably be the best coach they could get. You know? Okay. I would agree with this. Yep. I think it's a little bit of both. There's certainly a lot of money there. Oshu's always been held hostage. He's the only person that was going to stay. If they let Gundy go, they go back to being a stepping stone. I don't know. I was talking about this earlier, Rob, and I'm going to tell you I don't agree. Because before, you had Oklahoma and Texas in the league that were always going to trump whatever you did, even though he was beating Texas for a long time. Texas is a destination job. Oklahoma State never was. Now, they have at least the cachet is higher than most everybody else in the Big 12. Now, they're fucking that up with what they look like right now. But if you could get somebody now, or had they have fired him last year at the end of the year, you might be able to salvage that. But you got to go get a guy that can sell the program and somebody that can sell donors and get the NIL working correctly, because they've drugged their feet on it. And he has held them hostage. But I'm going to tell you now, I don't think that that's the same thing, because we're in a different era of college football and the conference is no longer the same. They're not the lowest team in the conference anymore. If Iowa State can keep, and it surprises me that they have, but if they can keep their coach around as long as they have, why can't Oklahoma State? I think that sounds exactly like something they would tell you as Oklahoma State fans. But yeah. Oh, Barry Odom? Absolutely. I'd take that job if I'm Barry Odom. And they'd be great to get in. Look, he just got the job at Purdue. Do I think he would leave Purdue for that? No, because the Big Ten is a better place to be, unless you look at it as there's no way he can win at Purdue. I don't know. But yeah, that'd be a great job that'd be a great get for them to go get Barry Odom. Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, I don't think the BV's going anywhere. You've been wanting Mike Gundy's ass for years. Hey, I think he's trash, Unc. I think he's trash. Cody will be in here to take up for his virtue, I think, at some point. But it's now 20 minutes after when he said he was going to be here. So we'll see. Let's see. Wasn't him trying to call me. Let me call him again. I'll let y'all listen in. Would Matt Campbell take the Florida job? 20 minutes late, man. What the fuck?
Oh, I'm almost back to the house.
Come on, man. Hurry up. You better take up for your school's virtue. Oh, okay. All right. All right. I'll talk to you in a minute.
Hey, I'll be home in like 5 minutes.
Cool. All right. Damn it, using the daughter to make me not be such a dick. Yeah. I mean, I think he's past that. I don't think anybody really can. According to him, even dumb shit chairman that, I went on and debated, if you want to call it that, is even saying he's got to go now. And if people like that are even saying it, there's no way he sticks. Again, smoke and mirrors, man. The 1 year, 2011, they probably should have played for the Natty. But aside from that, I don't agree. And that was because they had Blackman and they had Whedon and those guys. That's why. Aside from that, it ain't that big a deal. They weren't that good. It was all smoke and mirrors, man. He never hardly beat Oklahoma. He didn't, you can't even find a way to win some conference championship games and you get opportunities. It's wild. Florida will mess it up and hire that Indiana coach Signetti. Man, do you really think that anybody in the SEC is blinded by that record that he put up there when they didn't play nobody? I don't buy this one. I don't buy this one. I think so. And plus he's been talking shit about the SEC. I just don't see it. When Gundy leaves, does Bedlam come back? I think for their sake, they better try to get it back. And I think that Oklahoma would get it back, no doubt, because you have to play a non-con Power 4 team anyway. Why not do it in the state, not have to travel very far, and make money? And look, again, no, I'm not going to do that. Come on, man. I love Cody Light. You guys know that. I bust his balls, but he busts mine just as bad. I'm not doing that to him. Look, I don't know if they're going to fire him right now. I'm 40. I made a mistake by talking about Dan Lanning on my coach's show. That was stupid, right? Because he's like the pettiest of all petty coaches. I mean, he's going to rub it in. I could see that coming a mile away that he was about to see you their ass. And he did them one better, man. He stepped on their throat and fucking twisted, without a doubt. Hell, if he hadn't let up in the fourth quarter and put his backups in finally, they'd probably scored 100. LSU would have kicked their ass. Whose ass? They had a 30-year quarterback get out of here with that talk. That year was a fluke. They were good, though. They were good. I mean, look, they beat OU. LSU would have kicked their ass in 2011. Maybe. No, Illinois is not good. I think they're okay. And I would tell you that Brett Bielema is a pretty good coach. He is. But do I think that they're that good at Illinois? No, I don't. But they've got a schedule that's going to allow them to make it in. And they will probably make it in. Yeah. Somebody's saying that they're so scared about G5 coaches now because of Billy that they won't go get Golish. And I think that's fucking insane. Because he's already proven that he can recruit well enough to compete in Florida. He's in Florida. He just beat your ass. I think it's wild that they don't. To me, if I'm them, I go get him immediately. You're not getting. I don't think there's any way in hell Lane Kiffin takes that job. I don't think so. I don't know that he takes the Alabama job at this point. I think Lane is happy where he is, and they're definitely happy with him. Yeah, not my family. Back to audit evidences. Oh, well, enjoy there, Ryman. You sure you don't want to stick around? Nobody good will ever want to coach in Stillwater. I think that they've made it less attractive, but I don't agree with this, Jeremy. I don't agree with this. I think that they could look. I think that they've won enough to that. I mean, people talk good about Gundy all the time. I don't agree with that either. But I do think that their facilities are good enough, and they're in a conference that can readily get to the playoffs if they get the right guy in there. They can. So there's no reason that they shouldn't be able to get in. Yeah, Brett's a good coach. I don't know what you're talking about. Gruden to UF. I wonder. He said he'd like to coach in the SEC. I know he was talking about it. Maybe he'd definitely make a big splash. It'd be a splash higher. And you don't really need a great recruiter. It should recruit itself at Florida, right? The money's there. Yeah, I agree. And he's won 10 games for what, 3-4 years in a row? I think he's in good shape. They won't spend money. I don't agree with that. I think if you get the right guy, they will. But you need to infuse the fan base to be able to pitch in money to the collective. I think they were on their way to doing that when they, pokes with a purpose, but Gundy shit on it. Saving to OSU. Yeah, right. Now that one's a joke. But way to hold it down for Sooner Nation against the UN pundits last week. I do love that. And you know what? We can talk about that until he gets here anyways, because he's fucking around. It's been 45 minutes. So, all right. I got to say, I was much appreciated everything that all you guys did, following me around to the different shows that I did, and then going back and forth. I'm still hadn't seen old Carlos anywhere, but you have to infuse the fan base with belief in what you're doing, is what I was saying there, Jeremy. But I believe that we knew going in that Oklahoma was going to win that game. We knew it. And I think it was pretty clear. Look, had it not been for the mistakes they made, they blow their asses out. Now, do I think that Michigan is bad? No, I don't think I think their defense, especially their run defense, is pretty damn good. And the schedule that they have this year, I think they should get to at least 8 wins, maybe 9. Hell, they had 7 last year. Because I don't think they play. Let's see, let's go back to their schedule again. But I knew that all that talking shit was not going to work. Have you guys seen this video of the dude that's getting choked out by 2 fucking Sooner fans? What the hell was that about? I didn't see that going on while I was there. I don't know where it was. I didn't see it. It may have been in the other corner or something. But that's wild. The baby's name is Carlos. That's right. Carlos and Bevo, both MIA. Yep. Well, Bevo wouldn't pop up on my show. Only if I'm doing one with K Chris. But I would even I'll unblock his ass just to see if he shows up. I don't think he will. Kel won't coach for a while. I think I saw Carlos on the side of the milk carton. I think we knew it, but I don't think we could have predicted the absolute ass whipping clinic we put it on in the trenches. Hot take, I don't think it was because UM is bad in the trenches. I don't either. I think that's one of the better D lines you're going to see. But I know I wouldn't have predicted that Michael Fasusi was going to dominate his spot as a true freshman against a guy that's an NFL guy, senior NFL guy at Michigan. He's a early round draft pick, and he did not do shit against Michael Fasusi. So, hey, we don't do the taking up for Kale bullshit for what he said and did in here, Jeremy. Nope. Kale fucked up himself. Don't blame that shit on anybody else, him doing what he did. That's just not a word that you get to use if you're a white guy. You know it. I know it. Kale knew it. Nope. Said he don't want to coach, but also said he consults with Gundy and OSU, and OSU has blacklisted him. Well, they're not hiring him back. There ain't no fucking way. Everyone would rather say Michigan's terrible to make sure they don't say that OU defense is scary good. For real. Definitely for real. What is the 100 about there, Mars? About what I just said about not saying that word? Yeah, you don't get to do that. You know better. I mean, we know better. We white folks know better. You think was top 10 in 3 years? Who? Who are we talking about? Oh, Fasusi? Yeah, I think if he continues trending up the way he is, I mean, the rise that he's made as a true freshman, yeah, I think he's probably the first tackle off the board. Yeah. OU doesn't want to recruit against him if there's truth to it. Oh, I agree with that. I've never said anything bad about Kel's recruiting. He's good at it. Absolutely. But, I mean, yeah. Nobody should say that's correct. Hey, listen, man, I'm not going to get into all that with you, and it's not up to white folks to decide what black people say. It's not. So the bottom line is he had no business saying it at all. And he didn't just say it once and be like, oh my God, that's not what happened. He said it and said it and said it and said it. BV said that. He told us all that. He didn't tell us all that at first, but once Kel's daughter started talking all that shit, then he came out and said, look, he said it over and over again. It wasn't a mistake that it just came out because he read it off the fucking paper. He said it and then said it again. Don't get me started on this fucking Kel Gundy shit, bro. Don't do it. Not doing it. Did BB find his starting 5 O-line? Probably. Yeah, probably so. And I mean, I think that there's, you never know with what's going on with Simmons. From what I heard, if he's had as many concussions as what people are saying, which is a bunch, shut up, goated. Shut up, goated. Stop it. Auburn people been cracking up. They think they're going to beat us bad with turnover. Jay, they're cracking you up. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I think that I don't know that he doesn't curl up in a ball in the locker room before all that shit. Hey, looky here. We have a guest. Hold on. Ooh. Damn it. Welcome into the show from Locked On Oklahoma State. Our boy, Okie like Cody. Cody Stovall from Locked On Oklahoma State. What's up, my guy? You're muted, I believe, or something's wrong. Something ain't right. Let me check the audio here. Oh, nope, can't hear you. I don't see that you're muted here, but something ain't right. Let's see. I'm seeing if you unmute now. Try it now. Try to hit the unmute.
How's that? Is that better?
Better.
Are we good? Okay.
It looks like you might be behind, but let me see something. Okay, go ahead. What's up?
What's up?
Nope, got you now. You're good. You're good. You're good. Everybody hear him good? I hear him now. So we
those technical difficulties are symbolism for how the Oklahoma State season is already. We're in week 2, Jason, and it's already the definition of a dumpster fire. And feel free for all of your fans in the comment section to let me have it, because I did not only drink the orange Kool-Aid of the offseason.
I guzzled it, bro. You guzzled it.
Yeah. I disseminated it proudly. You know, I had a lot of faith in.
I felt bad for you, man. I got to be honest.
Well, and I've talked about this a couple times on the show. The worst part was I wasn't ever even mad. You know what I mean? Like watching that game last year, I wanted to break things. The year before, I wanted to throw stuff. During that game, it was honestly just, I don't know, reflecting on the fact that we're screwed here. And Mike Gundy has clearly put us in a position that we're just too far behind the 8 ball to play catch up this particular season. I bought into Todd Grantham and him bringing in his SEC staff and us getting a bunch of Big Ten and SEC transfers that started at schools like LSU and Ohio State and Tennessee and Florida. I believed in all of that. But
yeah, I mean, well, I think, you know, where I was praying that you were going to stop with the whole Oregon thing last week, because I looked at it as what it was, which was a clear signal that Coach Gundy did not believe in that team, and he knew he was going to get his ass whipped. And you were like, nah, no way we get beat by 28.5. No way. And I'm like, oh, God.
But well, listen, Jason, I just got a pretty decent raise, so I'm trying to make sure that the numbers on YouTube are reflective of the new raise is part of it. I mean, I did believe a decent portion of what I was,
by the way,
what I was sales pitching. And honestly, for like 2 weeks, I tried to ingratiate myself with Oregon fans and talk about how great they were and how many NFL players they were. And I was getting bashed left and right. So eventually I was like, you know what? I'm just going to lean into it and go the other way and proclaim that Oregon sucks and Oregon's soft and Oregon's going to get beat up by the Okies down low. But it didn't happen, my guy. I really did. If one thing was going to hold true, I thought we would be more physical. I knew they were going to be better. I knew they had more speed and athleticism.
Well, sure. I mean, I know that you weren't picking them to win. You know, I know
my prediction was 34-21, though. I thought we would put up a ball game.
Well, here's the thing. That's what you come to expect, you know? But
yes.
The other part of it is, and I think it should have become apparent at some point last year. But here's my question, I guess. After that, is there even any defending him anymore? Are you getting a lot of people defending Mike Gundy saying we got to keep him? Or is this really over? Because after they didn't fire him last year, when you had the perfect opportunity to do so, it makes me wonder whether it's really going to go down, right?
Well, I think if you look directly at last year, the Board of Regents made sure that they made life somewhat difficult. And as Bill Hastings put out, and we talked about yesterday on the show, there was a lot of conversations with Zac Robinson, so much to the point that the Board of Regents was fine.
Talk about that, yes. Talk about this, because this is news.
They were 100% okay with Mike Gundy declining the contract by 5 p.m. because it was very evident that you don't put a deadline on somebody unless you already know that you've got somebody waiting in the wings. And we all learned this from business alone, right? You don't promote somebody unless you've already made room for that person to be promoted. The same concept is going to happen for the Board of Regents. So their animosity with Mike Gundy working around them and getting his new contract is created animosity. And then Dr. Shrum got pushed out. They fired Young. A lot of the internal, secretary type individuals, admin that have been there for a decade plus, they started resigning and retiring, so on and so forth. And so, like, all of the protections around Mike Gundy have been put to pasture. And thus far, it doesn't seem as though Chad Weiberg, the athletic director, is going to get his new contract, which means that Gundy's kind of out on an island. And there was some talk internally that if he didn't go at least 6-6, the Board of Regents was already planning on moving on, which is why we cut his buyout down $15 million. Right. So I mean, you talked about this. I thought him cutting out 1.25 mil out of his salary was a little weak sauce, right? I think he deserved to maybe take a little bit of a bigger haircut in that department, but I was happy with him shaving 15 mil off of his buyout. And what does that do? That puts us in a position this year that we have that money now. We didn't have 25 mil for the buyout last year. Could we come up with 10 to 15 mil this year? It seems as though that is the case, or we would not have already made conversations happen with Zac Robinson this previous season.
Okay, I can see that.
And you know what, man? Here's what I can say.
What are the contracts like with these new coordinators they just brought in?
Yeah, that's another difficult part. Most of the coordinators got like a 3-year deal. And for example, Todd Grantham's making like 1.3, 1.4 mil a year for 3 years. That does complicate things, right? Doug Meacham's, I think, right around 1.1 mil. And yeah, there's a lot of money that has to be divvied out.
If you're really going to go through with making him fire the staff, which I'm not saying that you didn't need to get rid of a lot of that staff, because I think you had to.
Yes.
But if you felt like you were probably going to have to fire Gundy, then I don't know why you don't hold on to that staff and fire them all together and not have to go through that shit. You know what I mean? Because a 3-year deal like that, now you're talking about money that could go to your new staff.
Yeah.
With your new coach that you believe is the guy that you want, Zac Robinson. I think it's pretty clear that he's who they want, right?
Yes.
They love him in Atlanta as a coordinator. I don't know about him as a recruiter. But
hold on to that point, and I meant to mention this on yesterday's show a little bit more in depth, so I'm actually glad you brought that up. One of the biggest benefits to Zac Robinson, and I've heard this from several of the former players, that the one thing that Gundy lacks with the alumni is assistance in recruiting. I mentioned you see Adrian Peterson and DeMarco Murray and D.D. Westbrook. They're recruiting on behalf of OU pretty publicly, pretty vocally. You're not seeing that out of Oklahoma State.
Baker Mayfield. Baker called John DePere and tried to make that happen. Yeah.
If Zac Robinson got the job, the Des Bryants, the Kendall Hunters, the Jeremy Smiths of the world, they would be on the sidelines pretty regularly. And they would be out there publicly saying, Des Bryant's on Instagram and stuff all the time. Yeah. Never one time has he said, hey, recruits, y'all need to go check out O State, throw the X's up. Not one time has he ever done that. If Zac Robinson was a coach, I do think a lot of that would change. I don't think you necessarily need to go the Dion mode where you turn them all into coaches, but we need the Des Bryants and the Rashawn Woods and the Tatum Bells and the Chris Carsons and Tyreek Hills of the world. We need them recruiting on behalf of Oklahoma State, and we currently don't have that. So will Zac Robinson be a great recruiter? I don't know.
If you're Brandon Weeden or somebody like that, why do you not come in and do that for even for Gundy? I don't understand it.
Well, some of it that I've gathered from some of the former players is Gundy's just not interested. Okay, perfect. Two perfect stories. Tatum Bell, right? Who, I don't know. The fact that Oklahoma State didn't heavily pursue him until the end of Casey Dunn's last couple months of having a job is beyond me. Reggie White's son is going to be a C6 Caleb. He's going to be a 4-star consensus coming out of Texas. We're not even necessarily dabbling in those waters for whatever flipping reason. And lastly, I had the ability to reach out to a Darius Bowman, recently, right? Darius Bowman came to Oklahoma State, had a Hall of Fame career, up there in Canada. He had NFL offers, several, but he kept turning them down because he was comfortable and they were paying him good money, yada, yada, yada. His son is a top-notch recruit that has like LSU and Bama offers. I hit him up and I said, hey, man, why are you not trying to push your boy at least a little bit to Stillwater? He goes, oh, it's not my boy. It's Oklahoma State. I've reached out to Oklahoma State personally multiple times, and they're just not very interested. Things like that under Zac Robinson would change. So that's a massive benefit. And another thing is, you mentioned,
well, he's young enough to be able to recruit. It's just a question. He hasn't done it a ton, so
yeah,
you would have to.
I don't know if he could I don't know if he could or he couldn't, but I do know that he could get the heavy hitters of Oklahoma State involved in that process.
Well, that's where some of these you go find the right coaches. I don't know what the GM situation is there, but maybe you got to whatever you need to do to get it done. Here's the thing. I think that Oklahoma State has enough credit built up in the Big 12, especially that idea. We were just talking about this in here, that there's this idea that you don't want to be that stepping stone school or whatever. Now, if Matt Campbell will stay at Iowa State, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I know it's a different deal, but here's the thing. Oklahoma and Texas aren't there anymore. So it's not the same thing as it was in the past, where up until Mike Gundy, you had coaches that would come and go. But even if they are coming and going, they're not going unless they're winning, right? So
yeah,
I don't understand that thought of we don't want to be a stepping stone school. Look, I think you might be for a while, but I also think a guy like Zac would probably hang around, right? He's probably going to hang.
Yeah, and Reagan's only point was like, if you get a G.J. Kinney, right? G.J. Kinney is such a hot name that if he comes to Oklahoma State and he does very good, and let's say Baylor gets rid of Aranda or TCU gets rid of Sonny, that would be a perplexing situation. He mentioned teams like Florida.
Why? If you're Oklahoma State, why can you not fend off Baylor and fucking TCU?
Because I've been told that's what he's waiting for. That's why he stayed at Texas State.
It's Baylor and TCU. What the fuck are we talking about? You know what I mean?
It could be complete smoke and mirrors. I mean, I'm not. I do know that he does want to regionally stay close, and Oklahoma State would be close enough to the East Texas area for it to be applicable to what he's looking for. But he is going to be a hot name. He doesn't have O State ties, so if Sarkisian retires or leaves in 3, 4, 5, 6 years, the G.J. Kinney would be a natural target. I'm kind of with you.
For Texas, I could see that. I get it if it's Texas. I don't understand why you can't beat away Baylor and TCU. I mean, buy that one.
As it sits now, we don't have Baylor and TCU money. But that is another thing that we don't know if it's true. But there has been whispers that there are some donors that do want to get involved, but they don't want to give money to Gundy. We'll see if that's true or not, right? But it's going to have to inspire people to get more behind the NIL department.
Hire, better, inspire. It has to be. You can't go out and get some, like I saw Todd Monken on somebody's list, and I was like, are you fucking crazy? 60 years old at Army, and I mean, he's won.
No, not that. That's Jeff Monken, not the Army guy.
Jeff Monken. I'm sorry.
We want Todd Monken.
Of course, you would want him.
Yes.
He did good. He did a good job, right?
Yeah, well, and he's been killing it with the Ravens.
I don't know that he's a splash hire so much as like GJ would be, or like Will Stein would be, right?
Yeah. Stein's a good one. John Summerall at Tulane's going to be a good one. Jason Beck, the offensive coordinator at Utah, former BYU QB, he's a good one, right? He built up New Mexico with Devin Dampier. That became a package deal at Utah. Todd Monken is, I think the only knock on Todd is the age, right? He's 59. And secondarily, though, the problem with Todd is him and Gundy are super tight. So I don't know that he would want to come be the guy that cleans up his buddy's mess, right?
Right.
I think that Todd might actually stay with the Ravens and pick his relationship with Gundy over being the guy that saves Oklahoma State. But yeah, I mean, other than Zac, to
I don't
me,
know
it's
why
got to
you'd
be.
be pissed off about your alma mater hiring one of your former coaches if you're Gundy. But then again, it sounds like you might make this messy and not just retire and get out of the way. Real
Probably. And
quick,
did you
Capo
see?
Grant.
Did you see Gavin Gundy make things more interesting for his
Speak
dad?
on that after we get this super chat in. Capo Grant said, I called for Gundy to be fired after K-State in 22. Reach out to Dion or Garrett Riley. And people called me a fake fan. My opinion is that he is involved with the $41 million embezzlement scandal.
Who,
Ooh.
Gundy?
Yeah, I guess.
Gundy.
This is Capo.
Gundy doesn't even know.
That I'm
Gundy,
surprised. That
respectfully, Gundy doesn't even know what we spent on NIL this year.
Yeah, he said $7 million in the last 3 years combined is what he was saying. Isn't that way off, isn't it?
Yeah, no. So it's we spent $2 million, and this is Googleable, right? We spent like 2.1 2 years ago. We spent like 5.3 last year, and I have a sneak peek on a handful of players, so I know what a handful of players get. Now that means there's 98 other dudes that I don't know, but a couple of the guys I do know are starters that were big time acquisitions in the transfer portal, and then a few of the guys are the third string dudes that are only making 8 to 12 grand a month. But what I did was I took the math of the guy that I know is making the most that is not the highest paid, so he's probably top 7 highest paid on the team, and then I know several of the lower end guys making 5 to 8 to 12 grand a month, and I did the math and it came out to almost 12 13 mil. So Gundy saying that we spent 7 in the last 3 years is insanity. Even if Gundy said we only spent 7 this year, mathematically, that is just way off from everything I've heard and the simple math that I kind of put to it. And if that is true,
I heard
right?
it was closer to like 14 or 15.
That's what mathematically it should fall in that 12 to 15 range is what is pretty.
Because you were going out and try. I mean, you had to replace 60 guys you brought in. 60.
Not only that, dude. If you look at the Big 12, we know Tech's spending 30. We know BYU's spending low 20s. We know K-State's right around 15. We know Houston's at like 10 or 11. There's no way we're spending last place in the Big 12. And if we are, then we need to expedite this firing process.
Right.
Because that's the thing is I didn't ever get mad because it's more of a, watching the end of an era. It's watching a hero kind of fall away and his star explode right before your eyes. And that last comment, super chat you brought up here, I mean, I've been coming on this show now for 3 years, right? I covered the Mike Gundy not being at practices and being out, buying land and buying businesses and this and that and the other. And my show got absolutely hammered by O State fans saying the same thing, that I'm a fake POS and I didn't even go to O State.
Oh, I know all about all.
And they
about
made people made a fake account and started sending crazy messages to recruits pretending to be me.
Yeah,
and
he tried to ruin you, bro. He tried to ruin you. I feel like that was Mike Gundy himself.
So I've learned, I've been in this space long enough that you say stuff bad about Gundy. So what?
Why you've taken up for that rat bastard all his time is beyond me, because he certainly wasn't loving you.
So, and here's why. The reason that I was calling for him to be on a 1-year deal 3 years ago, not being at practice was a big deal. Him allowing Casey Dunn to run things for him on his behalf was a ridiculous notion. And that was pissing me off. Mike Gundy needed to be on a 1-year deal 3 years ago until he could prove that he still got his head checked into the game. Because when you're leaving to go do other stuff and buy other stuff, and you think that Casey Dunn is running the ship successfully for you, and then you have locker room fights and the Spencer Sanders ordeal. So I was covering that and getting absolutely murdered by Oklahoma State fans over it. The reason that I did switch it up, though, is because Mike Gundy finally answered the call. He started going to practice every day. He started working more hours. He fired Casey Dunn and Dickey and Joe Bob and McIndoe. He fired all of the problems. So the thing that I'd been hooting and hollering about for 3 years, Mike Gundy finally did all of that. So to me, it showed that he was, okay, a little bit late to the party, but he's embracing this new NIL era. And he did. he just took a big swing, and the big swing evidently did not work at all.
Yeah, he kind of fucked that up. But here's what Cowpoke Ranch is he's saying. Think about it. Casey, Elizabeth Pollard, they both resigned in February. Weiberg, Casey Schrum, and Elizabeth Pollard all got there in 21. Coincidentally, the same time the 41 million started missing. I don't know this story.
So I don't, I mean, it's not 100% in my wheelhouse, but what I can say is I do know that some donors, some heavy hitter donors, one of them happens to have his name on one of the buildings. They threw a massive hissy fit, and it had something to do with the time frame of Boone dying. And there's a bylaw in the contracts that dictate that if you don't donate over a certain amount of percent, then the building can't be named after you.
Right.
And I do know that Casey Schrum decided to basically bypass their own bylaws to keep the naming rights with Boone. And there was a lot of people throwing absolute fits about it. And Boone wasn't alive anymore to defend himself. So I don't know if that's what this individual's talking about. But I do know that there was some funny business happening, and it was all over Dr. Schrum not willing to cooperate with some of the donors that wanted to be the King Dinglings now. So very well may be accurate, but what I do know is internally, some of the people causing a hissy fit are just mad and butthurt that Schrum gave Boone rights that he wasn't supposed to have when he was dead or something like that. Yeah. If what I heard is accurate,
the largest donor in OSU history, you kind of got to make some exceptions for that, right?
That's what I said. If what I heard is 100% accurate, I'm with Dr. Casey Schrum on that. Like, evidently Schrum said, yes, I know the fine print says X, Y, or Z, but I mean, it's Boone flipping Pickens, and he donated like 31 mil to whatever it was.
But I know
after he died, somebody gave some more.
They got 250 more last year. Did you not?
It was 180 something, but yeah. Well, the part it was earmarked for other things.
Okay.
And that's the people assume that Oklahoma State's got all of this football budget, but only like a small percentage of it was actually earmarked for football.
But here's one thing I do know, and we talked about this in the past too, was that remember when Pokes with a Purpose, where they had all these plans on how to raise the NIL and how to do some certain things. And what did he say? He shit all over it. And was like, no, we want to use it for let's use that money to get more buildings and more, you know what I mean? Better facilities. You got the best facilities in the Big 12 now. Fuck we talking about? You know what I mean? And he has drug his feet on getting up with the times. I think that's been clear. Look, and on top of that, he has been mailing it in when it comes to the coaching too. You know, this Keaton, what are you talking about? He's got to keep his head down. Oregon was always marked as a loss. It wasn't marked as a 66-point loss.
There it is.
And the season could be salvaged. Can it? Okay.
It can, but and I covered this yesterday. After that, that's inexcusable.
That stain doesn't go away.
Correct. The only way that Mike Gundy rinses that taste out of the donors and the Board of Regents' mouth is if we win like 8 or 9 straight and we go to the Big 12 title game. That's about the only thing that can wash away that game.
You better win that fucker too, because it's still a stain. And I mean, Oklahoma wasn't a state for the only loss that's worse than the one that you just had this weekend.
There you go. Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that. And you mentioned earlier are some of the old heads being the same problems. And no, that's the amazing part. Before that Oregon game, right? The old heads were still saying, we can't get rid of Gundy. He's the best we ever had. You guys don't remember the 0-10-1 seasons in 90, 91 or 92 or whatever, right? So I asked people in that time frame, you were at the games in the early 90s. You were there for 0-10-1. You were there for 1-9-1. Was this loss better than those? And those people, Jason, resoundingly said absolutely not.
No, I know. I saw
the 0-10-1 teams. They fought for 4 quarters. Even when they got their butts beat, they were still kind of in the ball game. that was the worst display of a talent gap that I've ever seen. And the 0-10-1 crowd seems to agree. There's always going to be a handful of people that
this is a hell of a conspiracy theory Cowpoke Ranch has. Good Lord. Weiberg, the cleanup crew purposely bombing the season so the fan base
No, Weiberg is a hardcore Gundy dude. That's
that part. I definitely agree with that part. Because
I think that's one of the reasons that Weiberg hasn't.
The year before, whenever he went to him, is like, you better get your ass back to work.
Yeah. Weiberg's been a buffer
on its way. Then that's what I was saying. Then that look, man, this is coming. You can see it coming, but when you have 20 or 22 starters returning from a conference championship game team, and you go 0-9 in a Big 12 that no longer has Texas or Oklahoma in it, I don't understand what the fucking holdup was. If you were in, because again, if you have to fire the staff, you're going to make him fire the staff, but you're going to rehire guys that if you don't want him, it doesn't make sense to put them on 3-year deals and do that. It would have made more sense to keep the guys that were around. Do you think that the program's trajectory is completely sunk as far as even moving forward? What is it going to take to truly get back? Because my question is, what is the plan moving forward? You've got all this upheaval at the AD. The president's gone. Who's to say who's going to take these jobs? Is it not going to be hard to get a coach to come in? This is why I was saying in my column, and you should read it. But my feeling is if you don't fire him now, don't wait till the end of the year. You need to get a guy in as soon, or at least have the time to identify and sell something to a coach before everybody's going after him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, don't you feel like is the program trajectory not bad enough that needs to happen? Or do you feel like they can wait until the end of the year and still get somebody that'll work out?
No, not at all. They have to make a move contingent upon how the next few weeks go.
Right?
Because even though the first 32 seconds we started off hot, right? We looked like one of those speedboats cruising in the Caribbean. But after 32 seconds, we ended up at the bottom of the Caribbean, and we got absolutely decimated by Oregon. So it doesn't really give you a lot of hope for the remainder of the season. And here's the deal. We just cleared the deck. We have a bye week this week to prepare for our real rival, Tulsa, next week. So the Tulsa game looks to be somewhat interesting, right?
You better not lose that game, bro.
That's the thing. If we lose to Tulsa or Tulsa takes us to overtime, we might need to make a move immediately.
Okay, so that's the question. Do you feel like fans of Oklahoma State are hoping that Tulsa beats them so that they do it?
No. I do think that there's a decent number of people that still has hope that the team's going to rally behind Gundy and they're going to have his back and they're going to win 6, 7, 8, straight kind of thing. There is still that hope. But again, if you just watch that game, the talent differentiation is absolutely insane. Like, not only that, but whenever you're a less talented team, schematically, you have to do some things to give you some advantages. We did none of that, Jason. When our defense blitzed, they blitzed in the wrong hole. If they did blitz in the wrong hole, it got picked up by a back or a tight end. And whenever the tight ends were running crossing routes, our dudes were getting mixed up. It was a disaster. So we couldn't scheme our way into a victory, and that's the problem. Mike Gundy, even if you go back to 2005, where we were not very good because he had to kick like 25 dudes off the team, even that team was willing to mix it up and get in fist fights in a phone booth, and we knocked off a top 25 Tech that season.
Right.
So even the years that we sucked, it wasn't that big of a gap. Like,
right.
It wasn't that noticeable of a gap. And
right.
Even when we did have those talent gaps, Mike Gundy could scheme his way into close games.
He stopped scheming, though. That's the thing. He stopped being a part of the game plan and all that for a while. I think he got used to being lazy at it. He was mailing it in.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. And I do think that he put, like I did, a ton of faith in this staff, right? And it just, we were told and shown clips here and there of how aggressive and violent this new defense was. And they got boat raced.
I gotta tell you, a lot of people were like, "You really believe in this, dude?" It was. I remember Shawty being on the show, and he's like, "What?" Whenever you were on with me last time, he was like, "What is he talking about? That guy sucks." You know, Shawty, the Georgia creator,
what about
he used to play at Georgia. He was talking about the defensive coordinator. He's like, "No, he's not good, bro. Grantham's not good."
Yeah, well,
I mean, they ran his ass out of fucking New Orleans last year. For sure.
We just found out why he's been a good position coach, but he's never been a good coordinator. And that's just because you mentioned Stein. Stein was playing 3D chess. We were playing 2D.
Bad dude, man. He's a bad dude.
We were playing 2D checkers. And like every time we did do something defensively, it's like Oregon could read it like a book. They would check to something else, and then they would destroy whatever holes that we created by trying to do something. So Stein was always 6 steps ahead of Grantham the whole game. So when you take that coupled with the talent gap,
oh yeah,
and let's call a spade a spade. Oregon was sending a message.
Oh no, I said that to you last week. I was like, bro, all he just did was fucking get CU'd. He's gonna get CU'd this weekend, and I was saying it in terms of what they did to them 2 years ago for all the shit they were talking. He's a petty dude, man. Dan Lanning is a petty guy. He loves to rub shit in. And I mean, shit, he could have scored 100 instead. And if he had not pulled off the reins when he did, it could have been bad.
Yeah, his third stringers were in the fourth quarter, and we still couldn't score.
All right, 2 things. I want you to answer this question.
No.
Malzahn or Holgerson? No?
Nope. No way.
No? Okay. No Holgerson, huh?
No.
I don't blame you there.
No.
All right. Why did he put up his house for sale last year, says Cowpoke Ranch? I think I know the answer to this question, but we're not saying it on the air.
No. Extenuating circumstances is what we could call
I think it'll all come out
when
he's gone.
Yeah.
I think it'll all come out when he's gone.
Correct.
I'm not going to be the one to say it because I ain't getting fucked with. Nope.
I think I can say if you're a dude out there that's ever been married, you can probably piece some crap together. But other than that, I don't know.
I'm just going to leave that to Cody.
I don't know. I don't know why he put his house on the market, but I'm sure there was a reason.
Happy. Yeah, I don't know, because they enjoyed that Neverland Ranch that they had going on out there.
It's a sweet house, that's for sure.
Yeah, listen, that's what was keeping him away from the fucking office was the ranch. Old Bessie out there.
Yeah, and why he thought he needed even more land. Oregon's always been good, but Pac-12 badge hurts the.
I don't buy this at all.
I don't get it.
No, don't agree. Tip my hat to Okie Little for leading Daniels to us for sure. Hey, listen.
Yeah, he had a nice game.
Dude, he's so fucking good.
Yeah, he lost a love for the game in Stillwater.
Well, can you blame him after what was going on there last year?
No.
I know you haven't been one of the guys that's been as rough on him as some of the other Oklahoma State fans.
No, because I get it. When I lost my shit on KD is when his family was like burning OSU stuff in a trash can. That was when I was like, all right, F this mother.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
But listen, he's said a few things about that he wishes that he had been with BV the whole time, which, listen, you can't even, I mean, I don't even blame him for that. Once they let, what's his name get away? The DC that brought him, Jim Knowles. Yes, why I fucking lost his name for a second. Once they let him go like that, when they could have kept him around, had they just upped his money a little bit, he wanted to be here.
Well, no, I heard that we leaned pretty heavy financially. The issue was his wife either could not or would not move to Oklahoma. That was one of the biggest problems. So I guess the whole time he was in Stillwater, his wife didn't live in Oklahoma, and that was part of it. Financially, I guess we did hit him with a 1.4 mil offer or something like that, and he was going to get like 1.7 or 1.8 his first year at Ohio State. So financially, it wasn't the thing. It had something to do with his wife, and moving to Oklahoma was part of the bigger ordeal.
Yeah, you just fucking got them all fucking wound up, dude, with that shit. I knew you. Is it a cheerleader they're saying? You better listen.
What's up?
They're saying, is it a cheerleader? What are we talking about?
No, not a cheerleader.
No, it's not a cheerleader. Wifey move out. He screw a poke cheerleader, Neilio says. No. But
no,
that's not it.
That ain't it. Still root for a bitch.
Yeah, not a cheerleader. Not a cheerleader. Yeah, y'all are independently thinking that would have kept him there forever. Look, I don't know. To me, I think it's clear that it's time. But I mean, after 52-0 to Colorado last year, then the next FBS team you play, it's 69-3. I mean, that's 121-3 in your last two FBS games, and 0-10 in your last 10.
And you know what's funny is myself, like a lot of O State fans, we kind of wrote off that Colorado game because it was pretty obvious that some of the coaches knew they were getting fired. It was pretty obvious that we had 20 dudes.
Pretty well known long before that, wasn't it? When it got to 0-6, it was pretty well known, wasn't it?
Not with Gundy, because Gundy don't fire people. Like Gundy's never really fired. I think Gundy's maybe fired 4 coaches in 20 years.
Hold on a minute. I know you got information about they were going to fire the O-line coach.
Oh yeah, no, there's a handful of coaches they knew after BYU week. Yeah. But
okay,
the exorbitant number and some of the guys like Wozniak, Renardo, or Joe Bob, everyone thought those dudes were safe no matter what.
Okay. Well, yeah, okay. Well, anyway.
The O-line coach, tight end coach, D-line
Charlie
coach.
Dickey, right? Yeah, Charlie Dickey was one of them, and then
Yeah. No, there was Timothy, the quarterback coach. So there was a handful of coaches that it was pretty obvious after BYU that they were out, but nobody thought that he was firing 15, 16 people.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anybody knew that. I didn't think that's how far they were going, right?
No, it wasn't drunk driving.
Not drunk driving. No.
I mean, part of it.
Saying that 1,000 times shit probably didn't help the fucking cause.
Probably not. Now, there's always going to be, 2 parts to whatever. But I think there is at least a little bit of validity to the fact that all of their kids are out of the house now. So, 9 bedrooms, 8 bedrooms, whatever, probably was a little overkill. But why he sold it in the time frame he did, yeah, I'd imagine there was other things involved that were, I don't know, out of somebody's control, I guess.
Yeah, listen, guys, stop asking. We're not going to say it. We're not going to say what we think and what we've heard or whatever. I'm not. I know I'm not. And so unless Cody's going to do it, it ain't coming out. So anyway,
nope.
Knock it off. OSU will lead in the funniest coach in college football. Everyone has to admit Gundy's hilarious. I think
he does have some pretty cool sound bites.
Yeah. Listen,
people that are negative and voicing their opinion are the same ones that can't pay their own bills.
That's the one. Yeah.
The fact that you have that spun up already is, I don't know if it's sad or impressive. I'm not sure.
I've had it for a year, bro. I had it when it came out. It stays spun up. What do you mean? All I gotta do is hit a button here. It's technology is a cool thing, right?
Yeah.
But I got a new one that you might like.
If you take your top lip and connect it to your bottom lip, you will shut the fuck
up. That is good. I like that.
One of my favorites. I've been using that lately. No, you're not. No, you're not getting it out of me. Fuck Palace, aka Swingers Paradise. Oh, guys, knock it off with the shit y'all are saying in there. Y'all are killing me here. Alex Grinch is the next Okie Light coach. Wow.
I did see him mentioned by a couple of O State fans.
I heard Lincoln mentioned. I've heard
No, hell no.
Riley.
Hell no.
No, Lincoln? You guys wouldn't go for Lincoln?
No.
Huh.
Nope.
I'm surprised.
You also have to, I think.
Okay, this was funny. Was it a Diddy party thing? No. I don't think it was a Diddy party, but, maybe.
If it was a Diddy party thing, I think that stuff would be way out in the open by now if Gundy rolled quite that extreme.
That's why it's funny, though. That's what makes it funny. Everybody's talking about the Diddy party stuff. It's pretty good. Yeah. What else? Oh, let me ask you a couple of these. Okay, so his record, 170 and 89. It's the best in school history, but do you believe that the last 2 years, how are people going to remember him now because of what's been going on these last 2 seasons? If he goes, let's say he makes it through the year, maybe they decide that he's out no matter what or whatever, but he stays through the year and they don't win another game, or maybe they win one Big 12 game. Does that tarnish his legacy?
Yeah. I think he'll be known as the greatest Oklahoma State coach of all time that just couldn't figure it out in the new NIL era. And he probably he held on 2 years too long. Right? I mean, hindsight's 20/20, right? But if you look back at it, if he would have retired after the Big 12 title game against Texas, going out on a 10-3 season, we'd already built the statue. He'd already be in the Ring of Honor, and it would have been a great send-off. But instead, he's going to end up like Gary Patterson, it appears, which is the same thing. Gary Patterson is known as the greatest coach in TCU history. Without Gary Patterson, TCU would have never made it to the Big 12. All true, but he lost his fastball.
That matter, as much as I love Sonny and all, they wouldn't have went to the damn Natty game either without the guys that Patterson had brought in.
Correct. Yeah. And Sonny knows that that's a stigma he has to move on from. Yeah. And I think timing is imperative because Oklahoma State has not been great at timing. Last year, to hire all of the coordinators, we waited until after the Natty, like flipping why.
That was weird. Yes. What the fuck was that about? All the guys were gone.
We acted like we were going to hire a national title coach to be our next OC. It was weird. It didn't make a ton of sense. And I do think that it put us behind the 8 ball when it came to some of the portal acquisitional capabilities.
Did they think they were going to go get Mike Denbrock from Notre Dame or... Which he doesn't really fit the profile of what Gundy likes anyway. He's a heavy run dude.
It was weird. And the same thing in basketball. We waited until the season was over to get rid of Boynton. Like, well, why? Why would we do that? Why did
Weiberg is not doing a good job either, which is why he's not being renewed, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like Chad a lot, but it does seem like he's dropped the ball in a few areas. And one of those is raising funds, right? That's part of an athletic director's job, is to get people excited to spend money. Like Mike Holder, he got people like Boone Pickens excited to change the face of Cowboy football. We don't have, that doesn't seem to be something that Chad is out there doing. So from a financial perspective, we need a new coach and an AD that will light this thing on fire and get Oklahoma State more money. The concerts was a remarkable idea, right? If we didn't have all those concerts, we wouldn't have any NIL money, right? So outside of that, though, he is failing to inspire the next round of donors. Like, you got to have some young cats, some 25, 30-year-old Bitcoin billionaires. You've got to have some of those people.
No doubt. You're absolutely correct.
And right now, those people are like, I'll wait.
Until they get somebody that I like and inspiring, right? You're not inspiring those guys. And I think that's where that's why I would chase the hell out of GJ Kinney or Will Stein or somebody like that it's a splash hire.
Yeah.
Will Stein has had back-to-back Heisman finalists. You know what I mean? The first round draft pick and a third round draft. And Dylan was never going to be a draft pick until he went there, right? He wasn't. He wasn't. He was be an undrafted guy. That's why he went. Guys, some of the shit y'all are saying right now is going dangerously close to the YouTube line on these comments. Easy.
Well, thankfully, they're so small I can't read any of them.
No,
So-
it's not even about what you're gonna think about them. I don't want to fucking have those in the comments. Guys, you know better than to say shit like that. There's a line that you gotta play with. I allow everything pretty much, but come on.
Are they still going on about Gundy selling his house?
Yeah, and what might be, yes, but and they're taking it too fucking far. Quit. I love you guys. Knock it off. Damn
like
it.
you said, I think at some point in time after he retires, I think some of the inner working stuff will be more publicly visible. But it's obviously nothing so insane, because if it was, it would probably already be in the news by now. You know what I mean? So it's probably a combination of something
There's
stupid.
a lot of things. Hey, listen, you can't lose football games forever, and you can't go 0-9 in the conference and then turn around and start the next season like that and think things are going to be okay. I don't give a fuck who you are. If you're Nick Saban, you can't do that.
Well, and that's what's, Nick Saban, he was pretty somewhat open. He didn't like the direction of college football. He didn't really want to participate, so he bowed out gracefully.
Yeah.
Mike Gundy didn't do that. Mike Gundy was like, you know what? I'm going to change everything and fix everything real quick. But as we saw by Oregon, we're way further behind than we thought we were. And if you have another bad season, like after this, you're screwed.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to recover. Right now, Oklahoma State still carries some cachet.
Yeah, sure. They could.
Right? We just played in the conference title game a couple of years ago. The further we get away from that, the more difficult it's going to be to get us back in contention for anything, in my opinion.
Well, and here, Bedlam being played every year would help OSU and I agree with that. Yeah. I think it would also help their competitive drive. We talked about this long ago, before OU left, but once we knew that it was going to stop once Oklahoma left, that they were going to stop having Bedlam because Gundy didn't want to do it. I told you that I believed that it was going to hurt Okie Light competitively, just because no matter if you win or lose the game. I think the idea around a lot of Oklahoma State fans was that, look, now that makes us the king ding-a-ling right away, right? But when you don't have something to strive for, it's a clear goal to be able to win against Oklahoma, to be able to beat a Texas. You guys were beating Texas. What was it, like 12 of the last 15 or some shit like that? Did I read that right?
Yeah.
That's wild, by the way. But I mean, to do that, and then those two teams are now gone. Look, I think that there was that, along with Gundy being kind of mailing it in. I think that had something to do with it. And I definitely think that would help your NIL, because look, Oklahoma State fans don't like losing to Oklahoma, so they're going to cough up some cash to get the players, right? Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, most of everything you said made sense. I see you're still trying to push that we don't play Bedlam because of Gundy thing.
It is what it is. I know that's what it is. So, okay. And listen, I don't even care about that part of it as much. It is what it is. They're not having it, but I know it'd be happening if Gundy is not there. Who's going to keep it from happening then?
Do you think that if we get a new coach that we're going to be able to play Bedlam? Like we're going to clean out people of the schedule? No way.
Why not?
Unless, now I did cover this.
It would be worth the money to buy off some of these games to play it, because you'll make more money on top.
I don't think there's any way until like 2028. That's the first window. 2029 is the first window that I see that we could even possibly do it. So now I mentioned I don't like that Gundy has said things about I don't want to play Bedlam. I think that does look weak. And I'm with you. I have never been bashful. I want Bedlam. I think it should be a yearly thing, no matter what.
I think rivalries make college football is why it is. It's not that I give a shit about Oklahoma State so much as that I think rivalries matter more than anything else. I do.
And let's face it, man, the Big 12 needs these games. Just like the Big 12 needed Oklahoma State to at least put a competent effort against Oregon. Because, and I covered it, no matter what we do the rest of the season, if we beat any Big 12 team, it's going to be viewed negatively, right? Like if we knock off a ranked Texas Tech, what are people going to say? Are they going to say, oh, look at Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State responding? No, they're going to say, ooh, that just proves that Texas Tech's not in the same hemisphere as Oregon, right? Because Oregon and Oklahoma State was a disaster. So every team we beat this year is actually going to look worse because of that performance.
Ooh, yeah, I heard you say that yesterday, and I don't disagree so much. That's going to look really bad.
Yes, any team that loses to us is going to be known as the team that lost to the team that got absolutely eviscerated by Oregon. And it was, dude, we didn't even look like an FCS team. We looked like we'd have got 5th place in the FCS.
Oh, Idaho is an FCS team, aren't they?
Yes.
And
so is Montana State.
Competitive. Yeah.
And Montana State didn't lose by 66. Montana State had a wide receiver that went off. So, yeah, it's not good.
No, it's not good.
The players don't look all that inspired. They're not very physical. They're not very aggressive. It's bad. It's bad. We paid, from what I've gathered, a decent amount in NIL, and it's not working. So that's the thing is, like, if you're going to get more money, you have to make a hire that inspires more money.
Yeah. Yep. What? Oh, look, Cowpoke Ranch is agreeing here. Gundy's literally the sole reason we didn't go to the SEC in 2011. And the sole reason we don't play OU anymore. I hate OU, but at least they wanted to keep the game going. And I agree with that part of it, but I don't even care. The thing is, I don't know about this SEC in 2011. Oh, so you mean back whenever everybody was talking about all going? There was, because they
yes. When we were losing Nebraska and A&M and Colorado.
Yeah, there was talk. They could have lost the Big 12 at any point. You know, the Big 12 fumbled and fucked that away often, but they kept, Texas and the Longhorn Network kind of kept a lot of those things from happening. I don't know that I put that on Okie Light.
Yeah, some of y'all are acting like Mike Gundy does whatever he wants whenever he wants to. He still has bosses that disagree.
Right. And look, T-Boone was still around. He didn't have fucking power over Pickens. Come on now. Let's be real.
No. And I'm really glad you mentioned that. As much as we don't like it, I don't like it.
Yeah.
And Cody Campbell's evidentiary proof that if you don't have a big swinging D donor and let him have some say,
oh yeah,
it'll never work, right? Like, we grew up with watching the Texases and the SMUs of the world.
If you let them have say, yeah, they're not just gonna write the fucking checks and let you tell them to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
No, never.
And that's part of the problem is Gundy's not going to let big swinging D donors just roll up into the locker room.
Well, he should.
Sometimes you kind of got to.
Yeah, he probably should have.
Yeah.
I think he got to a point where he started believing his own legend more than even the fan base did. And I get it. He's got more wins by a lot than the next guy, right? I get that part.
Do you remember when I did a show maybe 2.5 years ago about how I said that the 2021 season, going 12-1, winning the Fiesta Bowl, having a top 3 defense was actually the worst thing that could have happened for Mike Gundy? Remember that episode? And I got torn to shreds over it.
Wait. You said what? The 21 season when they went 11-2?
12-1.
Oh, 11-1, and then 12-1. Yeah, they won the Fiesta Bowl. Sorry.
Yeah. That season was the worst for Oklahoma State because
12-1 that year?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
it was bad for Oklahoma State because it gave Mike Gundy a false sense of security. Like whenever he was on national TV and said, I want everybody out here to know that we have a logo too. We came back and beat Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl. That was like the creme de la creme moment for Mike Gundy.
12-2, right? It was 12-2 because they lost to Iowa State. Then they beat Oklahoma, but then they lost.
Oh, well, you're right. Yeah, 12-2. 12-2. Yes, good call.
Okay. I was like 12-1. But that was still a hell of a year. I'll give you that.
That was bad for Mike Gundy. And I talked about it on the show because that moment was the moment that it felt like Mike Gundy's like, I got this shit on lock. We are finally
whatever the hell I want.
We're in cruise control. I can go buy construction companies. I can go buy more land. I don't have to be at every practice. I don't need to be at every meeting. I don't need to be in film. I firmly believe that that W and that season is what gave him this, I finally made it to where I wanted to chill. Now I'm going to chill. And that's what's caused this. This year, he realized I can't chill anymore, but he's
now
so he's so far behind.
It's already the writing's already been on the wall. And I mean, you already fucked it off too much.
The 0-10-1 crowd that was always saying we can never fire Mike Gundy no matter how bad it gets, even those people needed to see that Oregon game because now they're like, oh shit. It's not bad. I
think the reason that they won as much as they did was because of Jim Knowles' defense. There's no doubt about that, but I don't know about running the team shit.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is he thought that he'd finally got this thing into cruise mode and that he could pretty much hire anybody and we would win eight games. I think he firmly believed that because a lot of us believe that.
Right. I was answering Boomer Knight saying, you got screwed on the Bedlam game in 2021. Maybe by Lincoln. Maybe by Lincoln. That's all I'm going to say.
That was a fun one.
It wasn't that fun. You should have damn sure won it. But they couldn't have won it. Here's the thing, guys. Look, believe what you may. Lincoln doesn't get to take the USC job if he wins that fucking football game because he's got to play in the conference championship in the next week and then more than likely go to a playoff game too. If you do that, SC's out. And he had already made plans to go to SC. So go back and look at the end of that game and see how many times he ran the same fucking play that was getting Caleb chased around.
Well, you got to give y'all got to.
I'm not saying that Oklahoma State didn't do their part. I'm telling you that it wouldn't have worked out good for Lincoln, is what I'm getting at. And he was already out the door, man.
Because that's one of those games where we hear it all the time: big time players make big time plays in big time games. We got none of that from Oregon. We didn't see much of it against UT Martin, but in that Bedlam game. Guys like Brock Martin.
None of the players were ever saying that. I would never say that the players were down with anything like that. But I think that Lincoln didn't coach as well as he probably could have. The whole year you saw it. You just, for as good as they were, they just didn't play up to where they should have a lot. And Caleb Williams is a bad motherfucker, but
I think it's very clear that, he was partially mentally checked out. And
he'd been.
But that's the thing is, I think Mike Gundy partially checked out a few years ago.
Right. And I think you're right about that. I know that he's checked out on it because listen, man, when you hear him, he always held court kind of like he does, but he loves to hear himself say the dumbest shit lately. And none of it really pertains to reality at this point. It hasn't in a while. And I mean, I think he truly felt like no matter what I say, it's okay. When you say that about Ollie in the DUI last year, listen, I understood where he was coming from. Yeah. What I didn't understand was how you could okay that to the rest of your football team or anybody, right? You know what I mean? People die all the time from DUIs. So it was reckless. It was bad. And nobody thought it was a bad deal outside of, that was inside of the loop or whatever. And I understood exactly what some of you guys were saying, but you also had to understand how other people, whether they were Oklahoma fans or not, were like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, really? That's what you come up with? Okay.
I mean, I loved it personally. I mean, maybe verbiage was a little off, but you and I both know all he said was the truth. I mean,
People
that,
do
that,
get
that happens.
do it. I'm not
That
saying
happens on every campus all across the country on a daily basis. 90% of us just don't get caught, right? He didn't say anything groundbreaking. It was not necessarily a great look.
right, but it came off as okaying it to, like saying, "Oh, it's no big deal."
See, I'm not worried about that though, because Mike Gundy is known for kicking people off for the stupidest reasons, right?
Which is
Mike
weird,
Gundy's
right? Yeah, that's the whole point. It was like he only said that. That's the other part. He only said this shit because Ollie was the best player. And
I think we knew that without Ali, we would maybe win 0 games.
Well, yeah, you did win 0 games in the fucking conference with him, which was wild. But
if there's one thing we've visibly witnessed this year, other than the Mike Gundy, star falling rapidly, it's we need to invest the whole conference, everyone in the Big 12. We need to invest more in offensive linemen because there was a graphic put up last week. I can't remember what game I was watching, but there was a graphic put up, and the Big 12 spends the most on quarterbacks, like 23.1% of Big 12 NILs QBs.
Yeah.
And we were last in the country with like 10.1 mil spent for O-linemen. Meanwhile, the SEC was spending like 17 mil for O-linemen. The Big 10 spent like 15 mil for O-linemen. When I saw that graphic, I was like, well, that's great that we have a lot of top tier quarterbacks. That's great and all. But why does any team in the Big 12 think that this is going to work? That we can spend all of our money on quarterbacks and spend none of the money on O-linemen and think that it's going to work. And then you look, Baylor against Auburn was a disaster. Oklahoma State versus Oregon, disaster.
Right.
In the Big 12, we have an O-lineman problem. And we've always kind of known that, right?
Sure.
You would assume in the NIL era that would be the one thing the Big 12 is going to try to fix. Is we've always had problems getting SEC-style O-linemen. We're going to go pay
for everybody to do that, though. It's hard for everybody to do that.
I know, but we spent way more, like $4 million more than anybody else in the country on QBs, and we were
this year. That's what y'all did.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're not even very good.
Oh, come on now, get out of here.
Well, what QB is good in there?
Rocco Becht is good. Sawyer Robertson.
Oh, you're talking about the Big 12. Oh, no. As a whole, the Big 12. I thought you were talking about Oklahoma State. I was like, which one you like?
No, the Big 12. Now, hold on. Now,
I get it.
You know how I said that we came out for the first 32 seconds against Oregon looking like a speedboat cruising in the Caribbean? Did you watch Haas Haney before he got hurt?
I did. Yeah.
That was our Ollie Gordon for the season. And it's clearly an asset that we cannot live without, but we have no choice.
Well, yeah, I agree. I think but I think he's fumbled the quarterback situation for the last few years too. I thought it was a fumble when he let Spencer leave. I thought it was stupid.
Correct.
Because he was willing to come back and Gundy turned his nose up at it because he had entered the portal. And I get it, but you know what? There was a reason behind all the shit that he tested the waters and then he still came back to you and you said no. And then what happened? It wasn't as good as it should have been.
Again, I think Gundy thought after that 2021 season that he had this thing on cruise control, that he could plug and play coordinators, plug and play quarterbacks, and we were going to win 8 games no matter what because we had this system ironed out. And honestly, before the NIL and transfer portal era, he was probably right. If the NIL and portal era never happened, Oklahoma State's still probably cruising. So I do think that he finally got to where he wanted it. He just didn't respect the lay of the land changing.
Well, you can respect it or not respect it, but you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. And that's I mean, look, I think I've said the same thing about Saban. We've said the same thing about Dabo, and as Dabo kind of relented a bit, maybe, they added a couple of guys in the portal this year. It was a few, but they did add a couple. I don't know that I believe that they're going to win anything. But
Yeah, they
that
haven't
being
looked
said-
great so far.
huh?
Clemson hasn't looked like world beaters yet.
No. Well, LSU whipped the shit out of them. So, I mean, it could have been a lot worse than it was.
Yeah.
And LSU hadn't beat nobody in an opener in 5 fucking years before that.
Yeah.
So that's not a great sign.
Right.
And then they were losing at the half this last week too. To who was that? Like ODU or something like I forget exactly who it was, but it was not a good team. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see on that.
Dude, it won't be much of a surprise, but the millisecond that Oregon game was over, I turned my TV off for the rest of the day. So,
oh, I'm sure.
I didn't watch nothing.
Yeah,
I came down here, and I watched Beowulf, the little cartoon movie thing in my hubby. That's what I did after the OSU game.
Well,
and I drank a copious amount of Coors Banquets.
Okay. Yeah, you live in Colorado. That makes sense.
Yeah. Banquet life. Yeah, I did.
Banquet
I was going to do a post game show, and my wife was like, "No,
why would you do such a thing? Why would you do that?" Yeah, I was a little worried about you when I texted you the next day. I was like, "Haven't heard from you. Haven't heard anything by you."
Like I said, man, it didn't upset me or make me angry. It was like mourning the loss of a somewhat distant loved one. That's what that game. It felt like I watched Mike Gundy's funeral live on CBS.
Oh well, yeah. I had to check. It was a welfare check that I was actually told by my audience that I definitely needed to make. I was planning to do it anyway.
Oh, glad you mentioned that too. Shout out to your audience. Because I've had some OU fans in my comments the last couple of days. They've actually been amazing. And a lot of them are saying the same things like, as much as we like to give you crap, it sucks to see the state of this program. It sucks to see Gundy go down this way. And so I will give a heads up.
Yeah, I was actually watching your show last night and I saw a bunch of those comments. Yeah, listen.
Yeah. And I can only assume that the OU fans.
Not all Oklahoma fans hate Okie Light the way I do. Not all of them do.
Well, it's not even you. Like when I talked to you on the phone the other day, even you said
I wasn't busting your balls.
You said I think Mike Gundy's a fraud. He's been a fraud for years, and you guys are stupid for keeping him as long as you have. But y'all don't deserve this.
And that's how I feel about it. Honestly, man, look, anybody who has fans that care that much about the program, I have a hard time with a coach that cares that little about them. And I think that that's what it's been with Mike Gundy. I'll be honest with you about that. I have been honest with you about that.
Yeah.
You guys don't deserve him saying the things that he said about, not being able to pay your bills. Didn't deserve that shit. He didn't deserve that you were talking about when the other thing that he said last year was talking about, that it's your fault that we're not winning because you need to cough up more cash. Hey, fuck you, man. We don't owe that to you. We do it because we care about this program and you're shitting on us. I thought that was fucked up. And I do think he's been a fraud forever. And that being said, I mean, I really believe that what happened last week is a positive for Oklahoma State, if only for the fact that it's going to get his ass out of town.
I mean, like I said earlier, man, that 10-1 crowd, they've turned. Not turned on him, but they've turned around. And again, all you have to do is go look at my comments from yesterday's show. Several of them are, I've been watching Oklahoma State since the 80s, or I've been going to games since the 90s. You know what I mean? There's a ton of those comments that are all saying, yeah.
Get out. Yeah, you got to go. Yeah. Well, I'm glad. See, and that's what I was saying. If it did nothing else, it forced the hand of Oklahoma State, and the people that would have screamed bloody murder had they fired him, there's less of those now.
Right. Well, and you watched it whenever people can say what they want. It was 100% allegedly Robert Allen that leaked all the shit to the media during the Board of Regents meeting. Like while it was still going on, basically, it was put out that
Robert Allen, huh?
Yes. And he was helping his homie Gundy. I mean, I kind of get it, right? You know how close I got with Nardo. So
Sure.
yeah, I would have thrown Nardo a bone so I'm not saying that what RA did was wrong per se. He was helping his buddy, but it worked, right? Because what happened before Schrum and Weiberg even left the meeting was Oklahoma State fans started losing their ever-loving mind, and people were saying, I will cancel my tickets. I will sell my shit. I will get rid of my ocean. People were losing their mind.
Right.
Those people, after the Oregon game, are the ones that
saved
are like,
his ass, probably. Yeah.
yes. So, again, you're right. If Oklahoma State was ever going to move on from Gundy and get 90% of the fan base on board, it was unfortunately going to take something like what just transpired in Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah. He didn't deserve to say he was a man at 40 either. Yeah, listen, Leach said, he still wasn't a man at 48. He was like, yeah, no, not close.
He's 58. It would have been nice to see Mike Gundy retire at 60 so he could say, I'm a man, I'm 60, I'm retiring. But
will he retire?
Look
That's
like,
not a question I got for you. Will he retire and get out of the way?
I don't think so.
No. He's gonna turn it ugly, huh?
Well, again, so going back to Gavin's stuff, which he obviously deleted, but you and I have talked off air about my couple, physical interactions, meeting Gundy, being face-to-face things, and neither of them were pleasant, right? But
I've had a couple of those too.
Well, Gavin put out a tweet 2 days ago, and he was basically, it was rough, bro. He was saying that basically Oklahoma State fans are idiots, and anybody who's thinking that my dad hasn't been the greatest thing that's ever happened to this place is, just not intelligent. And what you guys don't realize is without my dad, Oklahoma State would be nothing, and they would be completely irrelevant in the sport of college football. My dad is
everybody just forget about Les Miles and shit.
It was like I said, man. He went on, and he deleted it, and as he should have. But the problem is, you and I both know that Gavin Gundy is not the only one in that family with that last name that feels that way.
Sure.
And that's part of the problem. Is I'm not saying it's Mike Gundy himself, but there are other Gundys in his corner that firmly believe that most of the fan base is not good enough to hold Mike Gundy's jockstrap. Yeah. And remember, that's verbatim what I was told by A. Gundy in the stands of Boone Pickens Stadium is, you guys aren't even good enough to hold my husband's, or shit, I just never, oh, there it went.
Okay. So Gundy's wife told you that, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't remember that. I didn't remember you telling me that.
Yeah, we were working. I'll let it is what it is now. So we were working the chairbacks, right? So if you played football at Stillwater High, you got in to work the chairbacks. So after the game's over, you're hauling chairbacks all over the stadium. And we were doing that. The game was over. It was right after the 05 game against Texas, where we were up like 28-7 or something like that at half. And they came back and scored 35 unanswered to beat us in the second. And then they go on to win the Natty, right? So, but that season, we were beating the tar out of Texas. And we were up like 21-7, 28-7 at halftime. Mm-hmm. And so he's down there by the tunnel with News 9 or News 4 doing his post-game, little meeting with the news channel people. And we're just carrying chairbacks around, goofing off, like, thanks a lot, Gundy. Thanks for blowing a 20-point lead. You did good. That's all. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, Kristen Gundy is stomping up the stairs into the stands, hooting and hollering and demanding that we all come here. And I didn't know who she was. So I put the chairbacks in the little, wooden holder, and I walk over to her. I just happened to be the closest worker. And she was like, was that you yelling all this stuff about Gundy and this and we should have beat him and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I mean, a few of us were just joking. And she was like, well, where's the big guy with the red hair? And I was like, I don't know. He's somewhere, right? It's a 60,000 seat stadium. He's somewhere in here.
Yeah.
And she was like, I demand that you call him. And this is true. I didn't have a cell phone in high school. So I was like, I can't help you. Like, I don't have a cell phone. And she demanded that I get my boss. So I had to stand there in the stands until my boss came over, my supervisor. My supervisor comes over, and she's demanding that we ban all of these people from ever attending a game again. And my boss was like, well, hold on now.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And she was demanding my buddy's phone number. And so my boss had to call the owner, and the owner had to come down to the stadium. And mind you, this is probably, an hour after the game, 40 minutes, 30 minutes after the game was already over. And we were the only people in the stands, us and the cleaning crew picking up all the cups and popcorn and stuff. And the owner has to come in from his house to be part of the stadium. And she writes down my buddy's number, my buddy's name, all of his information, and kicked it up to corporate to get him banned. And she was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. None of these young men should be saying anything. And she points at me and she's like, because you guys aren't even good enough to hold his jock strap. And then Mike Gundy comes up in the stands, and he's part of the ordeal, and he's making sure that they have my buddy's information. And sure enough, they did ban my buddy for a lifetime, and he hasn't been to a game since, and that was 2005.
20 years he hadn't been to a game?
That was my second
He's an
interaction
OU fan now?
with Mike Gundy. Yeah.
He's an OU fan now?
No. No, he didn't switch to the dark side. But yeah, so that was my second ever interaction with Mike Gundy. My first one wasn't super pleasant either. I felt disrespected in how they were recruiting Stillwater High School dudes. Like we had Russell Borson, who was an All-American. He goes to KU, 2-time first team All Big 12. And Gundy was telling him that, he's just not Oklahoma State material and things of that nature. And so, and we were playing at Boone Pickens for 7-on-7, the first year of 7-on-7 in Oklahoma, playing against Jinx and Union Broken Arrow. So I've met Gundy a handful of times, and
he's a dickbag. He's a dickbag. There's no two ways around it. When we went to Big 12 media, of course, I think part of this has to do. This was like the 5th time I'd met him, but me and Coach are in line to check into the hotel at Big 12 Media Days.
Yeah,
and he's behind us, and I turn around and he's fucking staring a hole through the back of me and Coach's head at that point. And it's just like, whoa. And then he's giving me this fucking look, and then he's on the phone. And he's like, fuck this. And he walked out. He left. But like, I looked at Coach, I was like, that was fucking weird. Say something at least to us.
Yeah.
And then he did it again the next day at Media Days, where he just kept eyeballing and just giving us shitty stuff.
So that's why I don't think he's going to retire.
Okay.
Because his wife thinks that we're not good enough to carry his jock strap, and his son just said that without my dad, Oklahoma State would be nothing. They'd be completely irrelevant. So if his wife feels that way and his kids feel that way, there's a good chance Mike Gundy does feel like the king of Stillwater that is not going to bow out gracefully.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that he has it in him to not be messy about this. I just don't think so, because I think he believes so much in his own legend here that, and I can remember that there weren't too many people that wanted to hire him as head coach when Les left. Not in 05. They were like, oh no, we're not going to do this. He's not ready. There's no way he's ready.
Yeah, he'd only been a quarterback coach and a coordinator at Maryland for a couple of years.
Right. It wasn't. And on top of that, there was the fucking scandal that was going on with the recruiting as it was.
Yes. And he had to boot like 25 players off the team in the first week.
And he was just as involved in all that shit as anything, from what I understand. And I mean, I heard a lot of things about that. I'm not telling you that I believe everything. I'm just telling you there was a lot of shit thrown up against the wall that they would have been well within their freaking, rights to be like, nah, we can't fuck with this guy. We can't hit it. We can't.
Yeah.
So, okay. But he got the job, and yes, he made good on it. I've always said that shit that he pulled with I'm a man, I'm 40 stuff. That was the most ridiculous thing ever for him to yell at her like that, because the truth was he wasn't mad about a kid that she was supposedly ripping on, and she was taking up for that kid for their shitty play calling is what it was. that's the way I read it. I was in the media there at that. I wasn't there in that place when that happened. I wasn't there. But I know Jenny, and I read the story, and I know damn good and well that she was not destroying that player. She was kicking their ass over the shit that they were doing, and it was not helping the kid be successful is what they were saying. Now, whether or not you agree with that or not is fine. But
I don't care about
he was yelling at a woman on national television like she was a man that he wanted to whip to beat up or something over something that she wasn't saying.
What?
It was kind of lame. It was lame. I've always thought it's lame. I never really thought much.
I don't think that it was a glowing look at the time, but I appreciate him trying to stand up for Bobby Reed, right? Because
they were not killing Bobby Reed, man. That's not what she was doing.
Okay, but it goes back to the same thing as Ollie Gordon. Whenever he made his 1,000 times of drinking and driving, he was trying to stand up for his players. The same thing.
That part I get.
He was trying to stand up for Bobby Reed. He misinterpreted it and he read the room wrong. But again, I don't care about that. Well, I'll tell you what I do care about though is what I care about is Bobby Reed.
Poor Jenny. I didn't say poor Jenny Satterfield. Relax. I get it that not many Oklahoma fans love her either. I get it.
Since then, Bobby Reed, he was angry. I've had him on the show. He was angry at Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State for a few years. It took him a while to get over that, but eventually he did. And then he's a Cowboy. He calls himself a Cowboy. And he's told me he's reached out to Gundy personally a handful of times and to come to Stillwater and to come to games, and Gundy's just not interested.
Wow.
That is what bothers me. And that's the thing. That's why people are excited about Zac Robinson, is because those dudes that have felt like they're on the outside of the alumni base.
Listen, what was going on with Oklahoma in OU's players with Lincoln, and apparently it's going on at SC too with Lincoln. This doesn't surprise me. None of it does.
Yeah, he's disconnected from the OGs. Absolutely. See, I don't get that, bro. Like, I'm so jealous when I see Adrian Peterson putting out a.
That wasn't going on though until BV got there, though.
Yeah, that's what we need. And it does. It makes me jealous seeing OU players put out a 20-second TikTok about how, hey man, I heard you got a visit to Austin. You don't need all that. Come down to Norman. Be where you're. Like, I'm jealous that we don't have that, but we don't. We don't have any of the Whedons or the Rudolphs or the Jalens or the Chubas. We don't have that dude that's getting on Instagram or TikTok and saying, hey, O State's the place to be. Go check out Boone Pickens Stadium. We need that. And that's something that somebody like a Zac Robinson would bring to the fold.
I agree. I think Zac Robinson is definitely your best choice if you can get him.
Well, so on this comment, I think that ship has sailed. Yeah. Tennessee did offer him.
I wouldn't be surprised with that. I think they did.
Tennessee wanted Mike Gundy really, 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 really bad.
Is that when they hired Butch Jones? Butch Jones, wasn't it?
And Dooley.
And Dooley.
Both of those intersections, they thought they got Gundy.
Okay.
And Gundy was just trying to leverage Boone and Holder, but that wasn't exactly going to work. And he came to his senses, and he even admitted that he did that, just because you do that as a coach, but he wasn't super interested. The one thing that he said he did almost leave Oklahoma State for was the OC position for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was the one that he was actually going to leave, and he'd basically been told he was like final two, and he decided that if he got it, he was going to leave O State for that. But he admitted that the Tennessee job, he flirted with it, but it wasn't really going to be a thing. He used it to try to get leverage from Boone and Holder because he knew Tennessee was super serious, and they really wanted to pay him. And it was probably something stupid back in the day.
Yeah, probably.
far-fetched, by the way.
Yeah, and here's the thing. OSU clings to Barry Sanders more than anything to try to bring in more recent guys who can connect with the younger crowd.
Yeah. Yes. No, we need Chris Carson out here.
Well, yeah, and I think you need Barry Sanders, but I think you need all of them.
Yes. Right. People forget that even after Barry and Thurman, there's the Tatums and the Kendall Hunters and the Joe Randalls and the Ollie Gordons and the Chuba Hubbards, Jalen Warren, Justice Hill, Tyreek Hill. Oklahoma State produces NFL running backs like a factory.
That's true.
But that's the only thing that we can sell to recruits is if you're a running back or a wide receiver, come to O State. Every other position, it's like, maybe.
Thurman Thomas, does he help? Does Thurman help?
Not that I've ever seen.
Shit.
I mean, I don't think he has a problem with
Barry. I mean, listen, Barry was the best, but Thurman was a bad dude, man. Thurman was a bad dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we need more OGs recruiting on behalf of O State and whomever we choose to be the next head man. I think that should be priority number one.
I think that anytime your program, if you've got any level of prestige or history, which I think that there's more history than just Mike Gundy's history, by the way. There's plenty of it going back to Jimmy Johnson. You know what I mean? They've had years where they were good.
Yeah.
They've had periods where they were very good. Look, but I think that going back to that era, the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and I mean, there's been ups and downs there for sure, right? But if you have guys that are proud of that program and you don't showcase that, then what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. No, you're 100%. Like, one of my favorite moments and one of the easily best fan moments ever was 2021, where we beat OU and Des Bryant's on the sideline going nuts, chest bumping Gundy and pushing him and all that shit. Turns out Gundy hated that. And
wow.
He did not like Des being that close to the sideline and being up in his shit and being in his bubble. And you haven't seen it since. You have not seen a Oklahoma State legend that close to the sidelines since that day. And to me, that's a problem. We need more of that. We need Dez at every flipping game. We need Mason Rudolph and Jalen Warren and Chuba Hubbard. We need these dudes at every single game that we can get.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt. What about Rashawn Woods as a head coach?
I don't think no. He now as if see again, you bring in Zac Robinson. Could you hire Rashawn Woods or Des Bryant to be the wide receiver coach? Absolutely.
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah. I think Rashawn is – there's levels to this, as we just saw from Oregon, right? And we need to level up significantly. Rashawn's only been a high school coach, and, not all of his stops have been successful. So I think it's kind of he needs to prove himself a little bit more at the high school ranks and before he moves up to a smaller college. But bringing him in as a coordinator would definitely probably be a possibility. And guys like, I've talked to Jeremy Smith and Bobby Reed and Reggie White and Tatum Bell. All of these dudes say the same thing. We want to be more involved. We want to be at more games. We want
to understand why. I can't even understand. These are guys that played for him. And
yes.
Is it not true that he nixed the idea of what's his name coming to be the head coach in waiting too? He shut that shit down.
That is something that reportedly was put out during the Board of Regents meeting that, hey, we might bring, what do you think about bringing Zac in as the OC?
Yeah. Zac Robinson.
And supposedly that is where Mike Gundy lost his shit over. Supposedly. That could be not accurate.
Shit over what though?
He didn't want to have Zac on the sidelines as a head coach in waiting. He didn't want anybody on the
coordinator or anything like that, huh?
Well, no, because if it's true, Zac was only going to take head coach in waiting. Zac wasn't going to leave the Falcons just to be an OC. He would have come to be the OC HIW, and supposedly Gundy was not cool with that. And then right after is when somebody was putting out what was happening in the meeting. And to me, that was a very calculated move by Gundy to hit up RA
No doubt.
and
He knew what
say,
he was
hey,
doing.
I need you to start telling mother truckers what they're offering me. And that was that. And it worked. It got Gundy the leverage he needed for the Board of Regents to calm down. That's what it was.
Wow.
But again, now that this Oregon game has happened, the old heads that have said Gundy can die here, even if we go 0-10-1, even most of that group is finally like, whoa.
Is done with it now. Yeah, because you're not seeing the effort anymore.
Right. Well, nobody in 20 years, actually 25 years, if you go back to him being a player too, in 25 years at Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy has never, ever had an ass whooping like that. Not even close. Even the 05 team.
35 years he's been there, right? Overall, between coaching and head coaching. And
yeah. He's like 21 years coaching, 4 years playing. So like 25 years. And then he was a GA, I think, too. So it may even be like 27 years.
I think somebody wrote in the Tulsa World 35 years total that he's been there.
Very well could be. Yes. Yeah. But so, yeah, most of his life has spent in Stillwater, and nothing has ever been like that Oregon loss. There has never been an instance, again, I revert back to 05, when he kicked 25 players off the team, including some of our stars like Seymour Shaw. We were like, oh, man, we're going to win like one game. That we really expected us to be dreadfully. I think we went 4-7, so we were not very good. But you kick off like 8 starters, and we still never got beat like that. Not even close. I think we probably lost Bedlam that year, probably 40-17 or something crazy. But it wasn't 69-3. We lost to Texas Tech 58-0 in 2000, right during the beginning of Les Miles' era. We were still fighting and driving the field in the fourth quarter. So it wasn't as bad as this game. I think you mentioned it. You got to go back to like 1917, 1905 type shit.
Pre-statehood, bro. Pre-statehood.
That's not good, because that's like 1895 type.
That's insanity is what that shit is. That's fucking crazy, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So nothing.
Had 3 years ago was close. 52-0 at the end of last year. It's not that close, really. 69 points is still
right
ahead of that.
In that K-State game, in the Colorado game last season, in the 58-0 Tech game, we still athletically look like we belong. Like we suck.
Things can happen. In the UCF game, that was weird to me, but it was coming off of the Oklahoma game, so you can understand a letdown. But what I finding out that they didn't have rain attire when they're going to fucking Florida at that time of year was weird.
Yeah, but like I said, in the worst losses in Gundy's career as a coach or a player, there was never a time where we had 0 players that could have started for the other team. And that's kind of how I looked at it going into it.
Yeah, I saw you saying that, and I thought about that for a minute. I was like, yeah, you're right. I don't think anybody could have.
That's the biggest problem. That's why the 0-10-1
I don't know if you could have gotten anybody to play some, even.
Maybe Trent Hallen looked good.
Yeah, Trent's pretty good. He's pretty good.
But he was the only player on the field that looked like he belonged.
Yeah. Okay.
And then he got hurt. So it's a wild time. It's a wild ride. But again, there's never been that big of a difference. Where before that Oregon game, the biggest disparity in talent I had seen was Texas in the Big 12 title game. You mean like I text you in like 3 minutes, and I was like, oh, geez. Like 90% of the roster is like way more athletic than we are. And it's very noticeable. That Oregon game, it wasn't 90, it was 100%. 100% of that roster looked 2 times better than any player we had on the field. That is where the eye-opening moment happened for the entire fan base, because it's not just a matter of Gundy's not getting it done. This was a matter of, holy shit, We are so far behind. We didn't even know it. We didn't even realize it. We didn't even recognize it. That's how bad this loss was.
Listen, I agree. I think you could tell pretty early on it was pretty bad. The first 3 plays, you got 2 touchdowns, and there wasn't anybody close to those guys.
No.
It was like watching a JV team playing the best team in the country, period. You know what I mean? Pros against a Division II school. It was not good. It was not good. But again, what I've always said, and look, you know how I feel about it. Oklahoma State, it's a rival thing with it. We don't like each other on that. But here's the deal. I don't think that the fan base deserves that. And I think that it's the right thing to do is to get him out of here. And I think it probably ought to happen sooner than later, man. It really should.
Well,
if you don't see significant improvement, and forget the Tulsa game, you should win that. But here's the thing. If it's close, I don't know, man.
No, I think I'm with you. I mean, I think he should be on a week-to-week basis. If you lose to Tulsa, he's got to go. If Tulsa takes you to overtime, we better beat Baylor, right? And if we don't beat Baylor, then the clock starts.
Oh, Baylor's going to beat the brakes off y'all.
Probably.
And I don't even think Baylor's very good. I'll be honest with you. I don't think Baylor's very good.
Their offense is for real. Their defense is bad.
Bad.
Yeah.
Bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Jackson Larner looked great. I mean,
they should. Yeah. But
I think the guy does run the football, and they didn't fucking make an effort to stop that. That was wild to me. But
the expectation has to be beat Tulsa. Okay. The expectation has to be keep it close-ish against Baylor.
Sure.
But then you have Arizona on the road.
You got to put some offense up, and I'm not sure I think that this kid's ready to do that.
Maybe not. But again, we're not expected to beat Baylor. So if we lose to Baylor, probably not that big of a deal. But then you have to go beat Arizona in Arizona. You have to. You absolutely. If he loses to Arizona, and then next week we play Houston, if he loses to Arizona and Houston, he should be gone. And we should be celebrating the 21 years of Mike Gundy during homecoming with an interim coach. That's what should happen. If he loses 2 in a row, I think he should be gone at any point in time in the season, realistically speaking. So every week now is, in my opinion, Mike Gundy coaching for his job. So we should see a different team against Tulsa. We should see the team put up a pretty good fight against Baylor. We should beat Arizona. We should be able to beat Houston, even though Houston does look better. They're not going to be an easy out. But after that, man, it gets tricky. So I think 2 or 3 losses straight should be the end of this show.
Okay. I would hope. One would hope, but that's why I feel like at least by the middle of the year, you kind of need to make that happen, because that way you have an opportunity to not only identify the guy and start pressing, because if you wait till the end of the season when everybody's firing coaches,
yes,
good luck.
Yes.
Yep. Good luck. Yep. Now, the Sumrall idea, I don't think Sumrall's coming. He's either going to get the Kentucky job or possibly another SEC job. He's the hottest name, right? I don't see that. Now, could I see Will Stein? Absolutely. Why not? Now, do I think that there's a possibility that you don't keep Will Stein for very long? Yes.
Right. That'd be the same with GJ.
Right. Maybe.
Probably.
Maybe. But I don't know that GJ is, maybe if it was a Texas job, maybe. Okay. I don't know that I'm buying the TCU Baylor stuff with GJ. But look, and I think if Zac Robinson's if he's willing to do it, I think you got to make that. I think you got to make that higher. Yeah. Although I would say what Hank said earlier, I make Jeff Traylor tell me no. Dude, he's killed it, man. I mean, I don't know. It's weird to me that he doesn't come up more often. But Capo Cranch, Tim Banks, Glenn Schumann, or Will Stein.
I think he doesn't get brought up as often. It's because he was gangbusters his first couple of years, and I think they dropped back to like 8 wins last year, something like that.
Well,
And it lost some of its fizzle.
The first year, but that was their first year in the that conference, the American, right? That the games that they lost, the 8 wins. I mean, 2 of those are Power 5 losses, or 2 of those losses are Power 5. The other one is Tulane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To me, this is a program that didn't exist 20 years ago.
True. Yeah.
You know, and I mean, it's a commuter school, and
You remember their first
very well with it. You know what I mean?
remember their first season ever, their first game of their
Larry
history,
Coker. Yeah,
with Larry Coker against Oklahoma State in Stillwater.
that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, their first game of recorded history was former Cowboy Larry Coker brought the Roadrunners to Stillwater, and it was like
Larry Coker played at OSU too.
he coached at OSU for a long time.
Okay, okay.
He was on Jimmy's staff.
Good coach, man. Oh, Jimmy's staff. That makes sense.
So
Good coach, man. Good coach.
yeah, and I think we did what we were supposed to. We won like 66-3 or something, but
Sure.
it is crazy to see where they have come this quickly. I'll give you that. Yeah,
And he's been the most successful. And Larry did a good job. I think they've all done a good job, the guys that have had it.
the
but
only I think
Taking it to another level, recruiting wise, in the portal and all that other stuff. And he's the guy that came from Texas and was able to kind of really help him out. I think he's done a great job. I'd make him tell me no. But I also, if Zac Robinson is your guy that everybody believes in, I don't necessarily have an issue with that either. Because I think he's availed himself pretty well for that OC job as young as he is.
Correct.
At the NFL level. They put up points. I mean, I don't think that Atlanta's great, but the offense is.
Correct. Yep. They have I covered it. They have the number 4 most passing yards in the NFL. They're 4th in receiving yards in the NFL. They're like 10th in overall complete offense in the NFL. They're 5th in efficiency per down in the NFL. So yeah, he's proven himself time and time again. I tell you, one of my favorite stories about Zach was Baker Mayfield. You remember the story about how Baker got off the flight and Zac Robinson picked him up at the airport and taught him the playbook on the car ride to the stadium.
Baker loves him.
And then Baker had to go into the field, and he said immediately after, well, how do you think you pulled this off? And he said, because of Zac Robinson helping me with the playbook in the car on the way here.
Yeah.
And that was like, for a player to be able to teach somebody a playbook, even if it's a condensed version, in an hour-long car ride.
About the player himself too, though, about about how good that he was at understanding.
Oh yeah, dude, I've always liked Baker.
No, and I'm not even saying that it wasn't. I'm saying that tells you a lot about Baker. It tells you a lot about Zach too, to be able to give it to him in a way that he can digest it quickly.
Yeah, right. And then go win a ball game that they weren't supposed to win. They were big time underdogs.
Oh yeah, it was. Well, here's the thing. There's not a lot of people that are going to talk bad about Baker, and as far as players are concerned, other quarterbacks. But I've heard nothing bad about Zach. Which is and he played for Gundy, which makes me not understand what the fuck that means. Why he would be. I get it if you don't want to give up your job yet and you're not just willing to do that. I get that part.
So you brought up the I'm a man, I'm 40, right?
Yeah.
Who was the quarterback that took Bobby Reed's job that season?
Oh. And he doesn't like that he took that job?
No. I'm just saying it's a weird coincidence that what you brought up earlier pertains directly to Zach. Mm-hmm. Like Bobby Reed was supposed to be the GOAT, but Zac Robinson, three-star quarterback from Littleton, Colorado, comes in and takes the job and puts Oklahoma State into a different hemisphere. Like Zac Robinson, Des Bryant, Brandon Pettigrew, Kendall Hunter, that is the crew that is responsible for OSU being viewed the way that they are now. So we can't not afford to keep going backwards. We're not a big enough money school to have back-to-back-to-back 3-win seasons and be able to recover from that.
Got to do something.
Yeah.
Got to do something. Kyle Pokrant says, I don't know if an NFL coach leaves the NFL to go to college football with a lack of structure around NIL, a lot bigger headache. But here's the thing. You want to go get a guy that's going to bring that structure with him. I don't think that he's willing to take this job if he's not willing to take it all on. And I don't think that goes for any job anywhere.
Well, and if you caught yesterday, it's like me and Reagan both.
If there's a fan base, Cowpo Cranch, you know as well as I do, if there's a fan base that will get behind somebody that they believe in, like Zac Robinson, it would be Oklahoma State fans.
Oh, yeah. And it would move the needle enough to get
you guys are all fucking crazy, but you are crazy about your pokes.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah, man. It would be a massive celebration. And here's, like, again, from yesterday, I had Reagan back on to circle the wagons because we talked about this in the offseason, and we had been told that the Board of Regents.
I was watching it last night. That's Reagan Harris.
They gave the deadline of 5 p.m. because they already knew who the next dude was going to be.
That's a wild story, bro.
As soon as 5 p.m. happened,
wild fucking story.
You can imagine being a fly on the wall in the Board of Regents office. When it hit 5:01 p.m., they were probably like, oh my gosh, we're moving on. Like, holy crap, call Zac, let him know. Or if that he was the guy. So for 2.5 hours, the Board of Regents and possibly Zac Robinson all thought that this was going to be a thing anyways.
Yeah. Well, and yes, so he would bring a GM with him. I'm almost positive of that. Or they would.
I bet he would keep Kenyatta. I bet
he would, but somebody's going to handle these things that we're talking about. But here's the question. Is there a plan in place for that? I don't know. That's the question that they're having is that's what I saw from the Tulsa World. Not Barry, the other one.
Bill Hastings?
Yes, yeah, Hastings. He was talking about, is there that plan in place? You're going to have it because they better hurry up.
So if there wasn't a plan in place preseason, there's one being formed now. That's what I'm saying.
That's why I think you've got to go ahead and get started on this because you got to be able to sell that plan.
There's some big swing and D donors that were on the phone at halftime of that game saying, all right, what do we need? How much do we need? Who can we go get? Yeah. So I guarantee you part of the buyout is already put together. Part of the next guy has already been called. They're just waiting on Gundy, the next shoe to drop. Because I firmly believe that the only way Gundy lives through this season after that loss is to win like 7-8 in a row. If he does that, he probably bought himself another year for sure, no matter what people think. But anything short of that, I don't think the Board of Regents is going to let it slide.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you. Man, we've been going for a while now, and I appreciate the conversation. I mean, look, for what it's worth, I think that it's fair for you guys to ask for him to be out of here. You know how I felt about it for a long time. I think he's been fraudulent for a minute, at the very least. But when the things that I've seen over the last couple of years is what I've really been like, what the fuck, and knowing that the way Poke fans are about their team, they deserve better than that. And I think he's been mailing it in for too long. So I think if as much as, we kind of get a chuckle about the 69-3 as an OU fan, I'll tell you that it is probably the best thing that could have happened for the program moving forward, because if he's not ready he hasn't been ready to go further up, Still haven't heard your thoughts on Alex Golesh. Go with Alex. What do you think about that? I think he's a good coach. I would tell you my thought is that he's an SEC coach already.
That's, I like Alex Golesh. I just, I'm with you. I think it's one of those things that if you get somebody like that, he could be here for a year and then you're already losing him.
Well, I don't know that you take the job over what you have going at USF right now, because you've got Florida and you're killing it in recruiting enough to where you're up competing very well with Alabama for 2 years in a row, and then you walk into the swamp and beat Billy with DJ Lagway. I don't know that that's first off, I think that he may have won himself that job, right? Because I think Billy's out. I don't think there's
I agree.
I think Billy's out, right? if he doesn't get that one, you're probably looking at Arkansas being open. Same ones we were talking about with our guy from Tulane.
Yep.
Summerall.
Yep.
I feel
and you nailed that. If Kentucky's available, that's 100% where Summerall's going.
that's where he played, and he coached there already as well. So I think that, listen, if I was him, I would probably choose Arkansas. I don't think it's great to go home to an alma mater all the time. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it just doesn't. And I don't know that Kentucky's ever going to be very good, whether or not whoever the fucking coach is.
I really like Golish. I really like Beck.
I like Golish a lot too. Yeah.
I really like Summerall at Tulane. I love GJ at Texas State. I like Brennan Marion, even though there's a little bit of the UNLV NIL fiasco. I still do like Marion. I think he's going to do massive things. We're getting out recruited by Sacramento State. That's for sure.
I was going to say Brennan Marion. Yeah, what's up with that? Do you think that that's a possibility as well? I haven't heard it really come up this time around, but
well, remember I had a brief conversation with Brennan Marion after he left UNLV when I was being told by some people that, hey, he's the leading candidate and we've given him an offer essentially, and he's going to take a few days to go over it, and then we supposedly found something in the NIL investigation that we didn't like, so we
the UNLV stuff that was going on. Yeah, I heard he was smack dab in the middle of that shit.
Correct, and we knew that, but I'm assuming that we found out that he was the ringleader, and it went a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I think he was. I think that a lot of people have said that.
So I think we bowed out over that.
Off on Barry Odom. Nobody's put it off on Barry Odom.
No. It was all staff. But regardless, what he's doing at Sacramento State has to be recognized. He's getting 5-star consensus 4-star dudes on a regular basis at Sacramento State.
Brother, and his offense puts fucking points on the board too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you're a wide receiver running back, you come to O State.
It's a wild thing, man. It's a wild thing.
I don't know that this current offense is going to attract the same talent pool that we previously has had. And again, there was a lot of faith in this new staff, but that Oregon game showed that.
Well, it was faith in Gundy more than it was anything else, right? Let's just be real about it. Look, I think the feeling was, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think the feeling was we believe in Mike Gundy and his ability to flip this thing around because it's Mike Gundy and he's not going to hire some chumps.
Yeah.
Make him look bad. Well, he did.
Because he went out and hired big names, which Mike Gundy doesn't do. Right? But Mike Gundy always goes and gets the
D2. Tarnished, though. I mean,
not Ryan Osborne, Ryan McNamara, Jules Montanaro.
Okay. Yeah, I like those guys.
Yeah, those are big time positional hires. Sure.
Okay. But the coordinators were uninspiring.
I like Grantham, but I wasn't a big fan of Meacham, I'll admit. I like that he's a Cowboy. I like that he blocked for Barry, Thurman, and Gundy. I thought that's pretty cool. But every time he's been upgraded to an OC, he got downgraded like the next season. So, I mean, TCU loves him as a coach. They did not like him as a coordinator, and so they demoted him like twice. They paid him a lot to keep him, which shows that he's a good mind. He's a good recruiter. He's good with receivers. He
does a good job with recruiting. They do.
He's just not good at handling all of it, right? So I didn't like the Meacham hire. I wish we would have rolled with Marion, even with the NIL issues. But there's a lot of intriguing names. The thing of it is, Zac Robinson, he's still the best fit because he's a diehard Cowboy.
He wants the job, and he's already a very successful coach, right?
Yes. He's a guy that if he's successul,
if he wants to worry about, he's willing to take on what is being led to him. Because look, I have never expected.
We don't have to worry about Bama coming calling in 3 years. We don't. Like Zach would turn that down to stay in Stillwater 99% of the time. With Golish or GJ or Beck or Summerall, none of that is possible. If you hire any of those guys, you're probably looking at a 3-year head coach, right? If you hire Zach, he'll coach here for 20 years if we let him, just like Mike Gundy.
Yeah. There's that side of that yeah, I get what PTSD's a motherfucker, man. It really is. I mean, we've been dealing with it too all year. So I get it. Look, I'm happy for you as a friend of mine, man. I really am. I'm glad that you guys are going to move forward on it. I think I would hope that they start quick, because I think that the more you wait, the worse it gets. But I do think if they can get Zac, maybe it works out.
Fingers crossed.
Coming in, brother. Tell everybody how to find you as always.
Say a prayer for Cowboy country.
Talked you off the ledge if we did the other day. I'm glad.
No, like I said, it was it was more saddening than angering. But Locked On Oklahoma State, pretty simplistic dude to find. Do a daily show, and if you're ever in the Texas area, I travel there for 7-on-7 with Prospect Sports. At All Day O State on X, O State All Day on the other ones, Insta, Facebook, whatever.
Okay. Yep. Love all your stuff, man. It's been fun watching you and stuff, even though I've been busting your balls a lot lately, but you know how it is, man. We have fun. We have fun with that, going back and forth with each other. It's part of it. It's brothers, what brothers do. But man, so I appreciate you coming on, giving us the lowdown on it. And
now I will say in closing, if what people were talking about, you even were talking about earlier about we don't get Gundy or we don't get Bedlam because of Gundy. If there's another silver lining, if that is true, which I don't entirely believe, I think the scheduling does have a factor. But if there's any ability for us to get Bedlam on the schedule with a new coach, bring it on, because I think we have to have those games, not only for Oklahoma State but for the Big 12's sake.
I think it's important. And I think that, I think that I don't care who's really at fault here. I mean, I feel the way I feel. I know that you believe what that asshole says, but hey, I will say this: whatever it is, whoever the problem is, fix the shit, get over it, find a way. Because you know what? Together, the two schools can find a way to make the game happen, and it benefits both programs. No two ways around it. It benefits college football too.
Yeah.
And in the end, I think you know as well as I do that the one thing I care about is the game itself. I've said before that there's certain things that I don't believe in cutting out half of the fucking country or 3/4 of the country. I don't believe in doing that. I don't want to see that happen. The Super Leagues better be at least 70 teams that we're talking about, or else I think you're killing the sport. The other thing I think this Big Ten bullshit of the way that they're trying to schedule, I'm so glad that they talked the SEC into 9 games, because now that the strength of schedule matters, all that's going to matter, and you got 9 games, you're going to have to stop scheduling like you are. Otherwise, you're fucked. Which means you might get Nebraska back into the fold too every few years. That would be great. I want rivalries. Rivalries matter. They've always mattered. It's what the lifeblood of college football is.
Yep.
That I love.
Yeah.
So.
We need y'all to be good, right? I've always said this, and I've been on the island of I want OU and Texas to be successful in the SEC because I think it does benefit the Big 12. And when we had to submit our top 300 Locked On, right? So the Locked On top 100 poll, I did vote John Mateer number 11 in my top 100. By the way, in preseason,
he's a baller, man. He's a baller.
Yep. I'm a big believer in Mateer. I think that this is great for the state. It's great for OU. I want OU to be good, but I want us to be
go
good
any
too.
further. I get it. I get it, man. Hey, thanks for coming in, Capital Fans. Thanks everybody for coming in. Cody, you're my man. I appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir. I greatly appreciate you, and it's always a blast getting in here.
Hell yeah, we talk shit. It's fun. It's always good. We have a good time. And that's what we're doing this for fuck's sake. It's fucking college football we're talking about, not ending world hunger. Good time.
Yeah, I still have to pinch myself or punch myself when I realize that people pay me money.
Raise and all that shit, brother. I'm loving that.
People pay me money to yell into a microphone talking football. Like, what?
Go figure. How do we do that? How do we fucking manage that?
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
I don't have to stand on the street corner as much anymore, so it's beneficial. You would think that me missing a digit would be beneficial on the street corner, but I don't get the sympathy stuff much, unfortunately. So,
You're not a chick. It is what it is. All right, man.
There's always next year.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Folks, everybody, thank you so much for coming in. I'm going to hit you with our MyBookie commercial on the way out. Make sure that you have hit that like button for this amazing content. Get over there and check out Cody at Locked On Oklahoma State and wherever you watch podcast. If you listen to podcasts, you can hear him on that one as well. So get him every day. So make sure you guys check it out. We'll see you all on the next one. Hey, Jason Watkins here with Hall of Fame College Football. And if you are ready to back your favorite team, the Sooners, and fade that Texas hype train every Saturday this fall, there's only one place to do it, MyBookie. Right now, you can double your first deposit up to $1,000 when you sign up at hofmedia.us/mybookie1000. That's hofmedia.us/mybookie1000. Yep, 100% deposit bonus, and it takes less than 5 minutes to get started. Whether you're betting college football, rolling the dice in the online casino, or dropping a 10-leg parlay on SEC Chaos, MyBookie has everything you need. Bet anytime, anywhere, on the go, at the tailgate, or yelling at the refs from your couch. Just don't talk trash. Put your money where your mouth is. Hit that link, hofmedia.us/mybookie1000, and get your deposit bonus today. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie and Hall of Fame College Football.